Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Oh man, it's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's the Mark Order Podcast here on the Shining Wizards Network. Man, episode 58. I think technically 59, Ryan. Technically 59.
We'll figure that out someday.
We definitely, if you go look at the playlist in YouTube, it's definitely we didn't number one for some reason. I have no idea why. It's neither here nor there. Right now, it's the two live crew, Mark Order Podcast. 2 for me to 2 for you. AntMoney and Ryan Schlong. Schlong, what do you got? Your background looks like it's a mashup. Like I can tell it's the I can't remember the names, but it's like the Freaks, the Oddities, that's it. But why did they have, was George the Animal Steel part of the Oddities?
He had a short little interaction with them.
But it was very brief. It was really short.
And truthfully, I normally like normal pictures, but this is the only one I could get that of the Oddities that one fit the size and two had the Insane Clown Posse in it that fit this size, and I really wanted that.
Well, we all knew you were a juggalo at heart.
Call my juggalos and juggalettes.
Whoop whoop.
Fuck this shit.
Fucking. Oh man, he's fantastic. Superhuman.
Yeah, it's got like 3 ends or whatever.
Yes. Well, for all of you marks and simps out there, by the way, Kate will be joining. I think the exact quote was Ryan said she's quote unquote taking care of Buster. So whatever you want to think about that.
Click, boom.
Could be that. Could be some weirdness. We know Buster tried to take advantage of Kate once. So we're always very, very concerned anytime Kate is alone with Buster. And Ryan, you weren't part of the Discord, but there was a period of time where there was Buster's Red Rocket. He was one of my favorite people, and we don't know who it was. Nobody will cop to being Buster's Red Rocket. Kate swears it wasn't her. If it was
he
you,
like a
Ryan,
troll?
No, he just would. Anytime it would come up, like anytime we would talk about Buster's Red Rocket or Buster in general, he would chime in, and he'd go with the bit. It was fantastic.
Oh, well, if you're out there, Buster's Red Rocket, please rejoin us.
We miss you. Come home. Oh, look who it is.
I'm sorry. I heard you speaking about Buster's Red Rocket and speak of the devil. He's being a menace.
Look who it is. Finally. Mrs. Hollywood shows up.
I made it. Podcast number 3, because it's about drive, it's about power today. So
3 today?
3 today.
What are you, a glutton for
what was the
punishment?
third? I know Pillar to Post. I know this one.
Secret project I can't tell you about.
Okay. She can't tell us, Ryan, but she'll bring it up.
I don't want to tell you on air.
I don't want to hear about it off air. How's that? If I can't know on air, I just care about our listeners. All 7 of them right now watching us. Asian Joe, Marky Mark, Kyle, K. Sparks, Mrs. Money, and somebody else I'm missing in here. Gordon Post. See? I try not to forget anybody.
I don't care about them.
See that?
She's gone Hollywood.
You see that?
I'm a heel, baby.
It's 8 now. We're up to 8, by the way.
Except Mrs. Money. I always love Mrs. Money.
Well, 3 podcasts for Kate today. So Have fun with that. The other two, I'm sure, are fantastic. But this is the A show. We know that.
This is the A show. Ain't no PC police gonna slow me down, buddy.
Well, I have news for you. I did not edit the commercial break tonight, so you're all going to get to live through it.
I literally never want you to. But also,
It's going to
I do,
happen.
but I don't.
It's going to happen.
Question.
Just,
And
yo.
and our listeners can hear this question because, granted, this could probably take place off air, but they can hear my stupidity. But the way you play commercials, if I talk, does it talk over the commercial?
Yes, and I prefer you not to do that. But yes,
So I
you
can't
can talk.
I can't editorialize the commercials.
No.
I wouldn't. Don't editorialize the commercials, please.
The show's already like 2.5 hours long.
We can editorialize after the commercial, like we usually do.
Yeah, mine would be going on while the commercials are there.
No.
Just let it run and let it be over.
No.
That's a few minutes for you to take a nice break, Ryan. Get a nice beverage, check on the Phillies score.
We can't talk about the commercials because in like 20 minutes, I'm going to have to do a kayfabe bit where I pretend I don't know what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
No more commercial talk.
No, we're not talking about commercials. So what's new? My juggalos and juggalettes.
Wow.
Whoop, whoop.
What is new? What's going on? Nothing.
Well, we know you have a podcast you can't talk about.
I'm really popular. In a very specific way. No, I've just been talking about NXT releases for like just 100 million hours, and anything else fun? I went to a tulip farm with my mom on Friday.
Tool farm?
Tulip. Like
Oh,
tulip.
tulip farm. I was like, what the fuck is a tool
No,
farm?
tulip
A tool
farm
farm.
rad, to be honest. Like if you could just go pick up like tools and not have to pay for them or pay like $1 a tulip like we did. Could you imagine? That would rule.
This is where the hammers grow. This is where the screwdrivers grow.
Look, we already have a name for the episode.
What? Tool farm?
Yeah.
Tool time at the
Usually-
tool farm.
A tool farm is when Matt is here, so.
Listen, I don't know about this, Asian Joe. Well, actually, no. This could be true too. A tool farm, a field of Maynards? Yes.
It would be, you would only get, it's only open like once a decade though, is the only problem.
Listen, I enjoy Maynard a lot. I enjoy Tool. I enjoy A Perfect Circle. That is it. I'm not into his other projects, but A Perfect Circle when they first started, definitely above everything else. Mrs.
Okay.
Money's gonna hate I'm saying this, but James Eha was the worst thing to happen to A Perfect Circle. I hated when they changed that lineup. They should have kept that lineup together.
I don't necessarily agree, but I don't hate it. I can understand it. Like I can understand feeling that way.
Anyway, now we've gone way off track. So went to a tulip farm.
We did. I took my mom there. They're her favorite flower. And it was so beautiful. It's in, where is it? It's somewhere in South Jersey. There's an Allentown, New Jersey. I didn't know that was a thing. I was very confused about directions. But it's gorgeous. And it's like the ones in Amsterdam. It's the same like bulbs that they had shipped over, I guess, like years and years ago. And then they do sunflowers in the summer. But I surprised her. She didn't know where we were going until the morning. So that was super fun. And she's just like, my mom's just the cutest person in the existence of the world. Like she was like a child and like very delicately crafting her bouquet and worried about our color palette. It was so much fun. It was such a beautiful day. And then I came home and found out that the only people I like in NXT were released. So. So that was it. And then the weekend I just chilled, and this week has been what it is. But that's all. How are you? How's Sergio?
Sergio's here. He's in his bag. Quick question, Kate. Josh Weaver wants to know, did you tiptoe through the tulip farm?
Of course I did.
I'm so mad at Josh Weaver because I was gonna fucking ask that.
Well,
Oh, you're like, that joke's been said a few times.
Exactly. I like to make the obvious joke, people.
Wow.
That's all I
Who's
got.
behind you? You've got an array behind you today.
It's the oddities.
Of course
what threw
it is.
me off, Kate, was I saw the oddities, but I was like, George the Animal Steel. Like, I know he came out with it a
Yeah.
couple times, but it's just a weird. I feel like he should not be part of that
One might say it's an oddity.
Yeah, and the fact that they were just so blatantly using copywritten characters like or trademarked characters like Cartman,
I mean,
unbelievable.
right there, right
Front and center. I also, by the way, I had a Beefcake Cartman shirt. I wish I still had it. I think it said "Follow your dreams, you can reach your goals," and he was in the like, the tank top that said Beefcake. I think he was yelling Beefcake.
If there is ever a pay-per-view in Denver, we're going to Casa Bonita. There's it's not an option. Like, we absolutely have to go.
They bought Matt and Trey bought Casa Bonita.
I know.
To save it.
Casa Bonita, Casa Bonita.
Wow, you guys, cliff divers, cool. Oh, wasn't he like, oh, more sopapillas?
Oh no, pirates! Oh,
I just love the turn that took of how extensive that arc was with Butters. What an absolute blast of a show. How are you though, Aunt? How's Sergio? How are you doing? Sergio's taking a nap. Or
Sergio's
he's asleep for the night.
Sergio's in his bag. So guess what I did today, guys?
What did you do?
For the first time in over 2.5 years, well, 2 years, I went into my office today.
Whoa, gross. No, I'm just kidding.
It was kind of gross.
I'm sure.
There was nobody there, but there were some people in from out of town that I needed some FaceTime with. So, we went in, but it was fucking weird, man. I'll tell you this. I don't miss the commute.
I'm sure.
And there was nobody. Literally where we sit, there's normally a couple hundred people. There were us 5 plus 2 more today. That was it.
That
7.
must have felt like you were in a skeleton of your life. Oh my God, that's so weird.
It felt like zombie apocalypse.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's weird.
It was very weird. But yeah, all of my stuff was still there. I did not have any rotten food on my desk like I feared.
That's great for you.
I did have multivitamin gummies that expired in April of 2021. So I tossed those. Yeah, it was just fucking weird. I saw notes on my desk referencing 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a time capsule.
That's the time capsule. Yeah, exactly.
It was really weird. It was really weird.
Hey, how's the leg?
It hurts, but it's healing. I don't know if I can
show the people your sexy.
Can't happen.
Leg.
Hold on.
Okay.
Ew.
Okay. I mean, ow, but it's not infected. It's healing.
It is a giant scab.
Oof.
And it does crack open a few times during the day. The worst part of going to the office, I have to cover it and I have to wrap it so it doesn't, bleed into my pants.
So it doesn't get to breathe and heal and stuff.
Well, for the first week, I kept it wrapped up and covered with Aquaphor, right?
Sure.
To keep it moist. But now it's all dried up. And it's a giant scab, but I have to cover it, so that I don't bleed on my pant leg when I'm at work. And so I got home tonight, and when I peeled that off, it was stuck to the scab, so it didn't feel great.
Ew.
And I've got a tattoo on my leg, so I'm trying not to pick it or break it on the tattoo because it's...
I noticed. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's rough. That's a rough spot.
Yeah, it's right on the edge of that tattoo. So...
Oh man.
Eric F is asking, does your leg still scare little money? Yes. I do walk around with it uncovered now. And he goes, don't show me your leg. And I say, okay. He says, I don't want to see it. I'm like, fine.
Sounds like he needs a trip to the pizza truck.
Yeah. I mean, that's where Millionaire Matt is. The pizza trucks. We'll have to find the pizza truck one night.
We'll need to go on a Mark Order field trip at some point.
We'll have to. It's a good pizza truck.
Are the Sixers playing? Where's Ryan?
I don't know. I think he just
He's here.
disappeared. All right, you can come back on camera. That bit worked once.
I just want to make sure you guys were done with the oddities talk, and then
We are done with the oddities.
We've been over oddities for 20 minutes now.
Plus, I forgot that I didn't do it.
Yep. Okay, there you go.
There it is. Ryan, how are you?
Yeah, Ryan, what's going on?
I'm grand, except for the Sixers losing tonight because Joel Embiid got cheap shotted and broke his orbital bone, which is bullshit. But otherwise, I'm good.
That's all it takes.
I had some tasty cakes. That was delightful.
Oh,
Sounds great.
Yeah, I think that's all that's going on in my life. I had a comment, and now I forget what it was.
just Tastykakes and the Sixers?
What else would be going on?
Well,
I don't know.
Tool Farm just got replaced as the title of tonight's episode.
Tastykakes and Sixers.
And six.
I mean, like I said, let me think.
I was like, I need to have a notepad nearby so that I can remember to take timestamps of when our rants are so that we can post things on social media. And so far, my notes say Tool Farm ? Tastykakes and the Sixers.
That's all we got.
My
I'm going
notes
to
are
look
just
like a
words
mad
for
woman.
Kate.
Oh yeah,
Well-
we'll get to that.
You want to save that for later, or you want to do this in the first, before the break?
We can do it now. Whatever you want to do.
Doesn't matter to me.
Let's do it.
Okay, and Ant, feel free to add any that come to your head because these are just the ones that I got today. This one was dropped last podcast. It's Kibble Fibble. I have no idea how you'd use that.
I don't
Doesn't
know.
matter.
It has to be real words at least.
Kibble
no, it
Fibble.
All right, then because of your tweet today, stealing my idea, say duty, then he, I said duty.
I'm not saying duty.
That's a phrase. That's not a word.
That's
I don't
the
care.
thing. I want real words, not phrases.
Eric,
And,
I've just put it in the
actual
chat. Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
It's a good one.
That's a good one.
What about the
I-
annexation of Puerto Rico?
No phrases.
It's just from the Little Giants.
I know.
Deaf and straight. Taradiddle.
Defenstrate?
I butchered saying it because I spelled it wrong on my phone.
What is it supposed to be?
It's like
Spell
throwing
it.
someone. It's throwing someone out a window.
Spell it?
DEFENE. I spelled it wrong, so that's my problem. DEF because my fat fingers have like 6 typos in here.
Defenstration.
Yeah, there you go.
The act of throwing someone out of window.
That
There you
feels very workable. I feel like I could work that in.
There's taradiddle. Don't know what that is. Fuzzle buzzle.
Taradiddle?
Are these real? I'm not saying a word that's not real.
Yes, you are.
Taradiddle is a petty lie.
I must say it is going immensely.
And then the last one, I'll look at the chat to see if our chat. See now, Mark Kayfabe says taradiddle definition is a fib. Oh, pretentious nonsense. So there you go. And then the last
like
one,
that I can use.
yeah. And then the last one is a phrase, but it's related. It's shining the wizards.
No. We're not.
Okay.
We're not doing that.
If they want to pay me for that, I will.
It's always about money with you, isn't it?
Look, I want to go to the pay window just like everybody else.
Well,
I
then you
pay the
better get
Shining
your ass in the ring and run the ropes.
I'll just manage, make my money that way. If the Shining Wizards, I pay them $10 a month to get my name said on air in the B show. They should pay me if they want their name dropped in commentary. I think that's fair.
I'm definitely canceling my thing with them. Why am I supporting a B show? What have they done for me lately?
Well, I don't know about canceling it, but I know to sign up for it, you would go to the Shining Wizards Patreon and subscribe for as little as $1 a month.
Yes, that's true. $1 a month. And I guess you get some extra content. Who knows? You get your name read on air.
Yeah, you do. And the boxes of wizardry slap when you are obnoxious enough about wrestlers that Matt knows. And he puts Colt Cabana things in your box every 3 months. Oh man. Okay, I don't know about any of these. Do you guys have any last minute submissions?
When is this show? Saturday?
Saturday,
Yes, that's
yeah.
why.
Why do we always wait till the last minute?
Because this is how we roll.
I guess.
Rolling with the homies.
Give that list one more time, Schlong.
Paradiddle or Taradiddle?
Taradiddle, Fuzzle Wuzzle, Defenestrate.
It can't be
Oh,
taradiddle.
and then
Yes, it can, my friend.
there was external occipital protuberance, which is a gorilla monsoon phrase.
Oh yeah, it was taradiddle. That's right.
These are not. We said a word, a real word.
Yeah,
that
but that one has wrestling history. So if you
that
use
one,
that,
I'll use that if since it's a gorilla throwback if we want.
sozzled.
Sozzled.
So someone's drunk.
Sozzled for drunk?
I looked up funny words. Okay. Of course, Matt put in there lollygag, or Matt, or whoever's using Shining Wizards. Lollygag.
It's definitely not Matt.
I'm gonna bet that's Kevin. Tony's usually under his Papa Squat name when he's in our chat. I don't know. I don't feel like these are strong contenders, if I'm being totally honest.
We'll put a poll up. We'll have to come up with.
I mean, these are what our people came up with. So clearly, we're struggling here.
Well, this
Kevin
shows.
I love beefy men. That makes me think it's Tony, but it could also be Kevin.
I don't know anymore.
Love big meaty men slapping meat. Why not? All right, so we'll narrow it down and we'll put a poll on.
What about Flibberty Gibbet?
What does it mean?
Gibbet.
It's a person who is silly and irresponsible.
Okay, yeah. I'll make that work. You gotta send it to me though, because I'm not gonna remember that.
Well, yeah, Kate, you got to write it on a index card and just have it in front of you.
Liberty Gibbet. Liberty.
Well, we have to narrow it down and put the poll
Liberty
up.
Bipperty. Yeah, we'll put up a poll and you guys can vote on what funny word I have to use.
But that is a contender. It's definitely a contender.
Liberty Gibbet. I think the gorilla monsoon phrase is a good one to throw in there. Taradiddle makes me a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie.
That's fair.
They don't have a women's match, so I wouldn't have to worry about someone named Tara being on there, I guess. But
how about dingus?
Oh, underrated word in general, sure. Dingus.
Dingus isn't bad.
Yeah, you do a lot of criticizing and not a lot of weighing in here.
I just don't have a list in front of me, so it's hard to... I'm not writing these down as they're being read, so they're getting lost. I'm tired. I was up at 6 a.m.
Okay.
I'm getting lost.
It's okay.
Stumblebum.
Stumblebum?
A word for describe someone who's clumsy.
That sounds like an 80s tag team. The Stumblebums.
Mike Peterson saying paradiddle. It's a type of drum roll, but I don't know how we'd work that into.
That's my challenge. That's my creative struggle.
That's true.
Kerfuffle. That's a good one.
Yeah, but kerfuffle, you could easily work that into the conversation. I mean, the fun of this is if we did say paradiddle, work paradiddle into the conversation. Like, there's a challenge.
That takes some work. Yeah. All right. Well, keep an eye on the Mark Order Twitter. We'll throw something up there. That'll be fun.
Piffle?
Someone who's speaking nonsense.
Someone who's
the past 20 minutes have been.
Seriously. And it's the person sitting in front of the oddities background. I don't know why you're waving your hands in the air like you just don't care.
I'm pretty sure, isn't that what the oddities did?
I don't know. They were odd.
Yeah, they would put their hands up and they go like this.
There's nothing in their music that suggested you would wave your hands in the air like you just don't care.
It's an organic thing.
It's just a thing you do anytime you hear the Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, why not?
You don't remember they'd get in the ring and this is what they would be doing?
I mean, I remember that's what. Who the fuck were the other guys? Oh my god, who was the other tag team? The like
Public Enemies.
yes, that's it. Public Enemies would get in there and do the back and forth gimmick.
There you go.
Okay, you can't. I don't think you can use this one, but it'd be really funny. It's hoe cake.
Is it what it sounds like?
It's Southern style cornbread.
That would be a challenge. We'll narrow them down and we'll throw them up on there.
I mean, Kate, you could easily be like, boy, this match just isn't working for me. I'm hungry. Anybody got some hoe cake?
Yeah, but I don't want to take a lazy way out, you know?
You're just like, there, I've lived up to my commitment.
Yeah, I'm fulfilling the quota at that point.
Oh, man. Well, we'll narrow it down. Keep an eye on the Mark Order Twitter, and we'll put up a list of words in the poll. And whatever wins, that's what we're going with.
I'm gonna try and say it.
Listen, Kate, have faith. Don't try, do.
Thank you. Thanks for the vote of confidence.
You can do it.
I did it last time.
What was the word last time?
Bumfuzzled.
Bumfuzzled. That's right.
That was a good one because it was
You
like
did it well.
it was easy to sneak in, but it was also like a standout word. That hit the sweet spot.
Well, we have a list. So we'll narrow it down. I think
Here's
some
what
of
I
these
need.
can definitely work.
I just need suggestions that the PC police aren't going to come for.
Well, not at this moment.
I can't promise that.
Not at this moment,
They're
but
always breathing down my neck.
guys, I actually want to start the wrestling talk by asking if anybody saw Rampage this last week.
Yes, I did.
I'll say this, it was a good episode, but here was the part that I really enjoyed. We finally got Ian goddamn Riccaboni.
Yeah, we did.
I was so happy.
I love Ian so much.
He is so good.
He's so good. And I only wish that when Jericho was getting attacked anyway, why they didn't just have him exit the booth, because I felt like the booth was crowded. I felt like if you're gonna add Ian, you should have just gotten rid of Jericho there. But like, it warmed my heart to hear him get that spot. What a wonderful call, and what a fantastic commentator he is.
I know we pretty much cut to the end of the episode just so I could talk about how happy I was.
We can talk about Ian always.
Well, it was because I think I had mentioned last week or even a couple weeks ago that one week when they were like, oh, and here from Ring of Honor, I was like, oh, it's Riccaboni, and it wasn't. It was just the ring announcer who I never remember his goddamn.
Bobby Cruz.
There you go. And so I was so happy this week when they were like, and here's Ian Riccaboni. And I was just like, oh my God, it's happening.
They probably heard you. They were probably like, well, we can't let Ant down.
They do listen to this show. Clearly.
Yeah, see all the changes in the women's division? It's because
yeah,
of this show.
we will talk about that for fucking sure tonight. But let's quickly, we'll run through the card. We had Darby Allin defeat Swerve to qualify for the Owen Hart tournament in a really odd kind of finish, right? I thought it was really fucking weird. Only because I don't know why Swerve would have been distracted by Starks, even though Sting was running him off. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, it was clunky.
It just seemed weird. And then they missed the fucking roll up. Like by the time they showed him back in the ring, it was like he was, I think, like midway being rolled up. So just seemed weird. I mean, I did like how they kind of later went back to them backstage, and Darby was like, hey, if you want to go another 5 minutes, I'll do it. And Swerve was like, no, man, it's good. You just win it for the Pacific Northwest,
Yeah, I thought that the ending was clunky, but that match was electric. Swerve is insane, man. Like some of the spots that he was landing on his feet during, like that shouldn't be humanly possible. Like that handspring out of the ring and stuff, like on the apron, just absolutely nuts. And they faced each other a bunch on the Indies. So they were super familiar with each other. incredible chemistry. And like you, I liked later in the show when they had the show of respect, and I liked that Darby as a face was like, I don't have to win it that way. And Swerve was like, nah, like I've got my own problem over here. I didn't need the interference at all, and I definitely didn't need it like that.
It just seemed weird. I mean, I don't know, Ryan, if you have an opinion on it, I just thought it was sort of weird. Like, there was no, like, I get that the issue exists, right? But it just seems so out of place.
It was weird. I mean, I think part of it is, truthfully, they don't do that style of distraction a lot. I mean, they do distraction, but not like the walkout, runaway distraction that was. So maybe they're just out of practice with it. Clearly, they wanted to protect Swerve in a loss. We're losing to Darby isn't a bad thing. Darby is one of their biggest stars. So even if it was clean, I don't take it as a knock against Swerve when he's in another story. But they even wanted to go that extra mile and be like, hey, he could have lost clean and that's fine. But we want you to know that he's even more protected because he's in this tag story. So I think it was clunky. Like you said, I think they try to play it careful between being too sports entertaining in like a distraction where it's too obvious, and then they got too cute with it and it just didn't play well. They would have been better off just going all in on that or doing something else completely. Like they could have had Hobbs sneak out the back or something and do something to him that way. But
sometimes
it is
like the better guy just wins that night, though. You know what I mean? Like it's something I rarely complain about because they do such a good job of protected losses. But sometimes, like you just said, like they overprotect a little bit. Like sometimes a guy can just beat another guy and that's fine. Like sometimes, especially on Rampage, like sometimes a guy's just better that night and you're in a tournament. So it's not like it's blowing up any story. Like the story is between other people already, right? So I'm with you. I feel like they do protected loss as well, like 93% of the time. And this was just kind of one of those weird ones where it didn't work.
I wonder if Swerve had been around longer, wasn't so new in his run, would they have felt the need to protect him as much? I'm just projecting my own thoughts into this. This isn't anything I've read, but you almost wonder, he's so new, or were they fearing that if they had him lose to Darby clean out, people would be like, oh, here we go again. Like Swerve's not going to get. And so they want to be like, all right, let's just show people that we still believe in him and he is involved in this totally separate, awesome story. Like I'm really engaged in that story. So that's great. But I don't know. I'm with you. I'm okay with the clean loss every now and again. Like actually more often than not, I'm okay with a clean loss. Especially when it's not Swerve losing to Sean Spears. It's Swerve losing to Darby, and Darby is one of their top 10 guys. Like whether you say it or not, he is considered like one of the top guys in that company. They gave him the TNT title, and when he's not having that, he's with Sting and always on a pay-per-view, always in a story. So like it's okay to lose to Darby.
Yeah, I honestly feel like they could have. Swerve is also the type of character where if Darby bested him, he would have, shook hands and been like, you got me tonight, I'll get you down the line, but go win this whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it would have ruined him to lose clean, but
yeah, I would have preferred almost Darby won by something cute. Like,
yeah,
kind of like got clever, Swerve got overconfident and lost that way. Cause you could chalk that up well, Swerve will get him back. It's clean. No one complains, but at the end of the day, like Kate said, the match was so good that I just think about the match and don't worry about the finish.
Well, it was a fun match until that weird ending, and I'm sure we'll see these guys again somewhere down the line, so that will be awesome. We got a Spears promo on Wardlow, which led into tonight, so we'll talk about that later. In one of my favorite moments of the night, Jericho awards himself the Sports Entertainer of the Week. Because he threw a fireball and he claims that he's a wizard. We will also talk about that later. But he says he's a freaking wizard. And it leads to the beatdown by Santana and eventual match getting booked on Dynamite tonight, the grudge match. So we will certainly talk about that. But man, this Sports Entertainer thing is just, I fucking love it so much.
It's so great. I love it so much.
Also, going back to the chat, Matthew Plus said Jericho needs to stay on commentary now. He lost his Dark Side of the Ring gig. I actually had read that that even though it's not on Vice's schedule, they said they're committed to that series. I think that the producers are working on another project, which is maybe why they're not doing Dark Side right now.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
came out and basically said that story was wrong. They're not canceled.
Yeah, I don't know why that show was big for Vice. Why would they cancel it?
A top ratings get. So yeah, that was. There's been a couple of times where Meltzer's been a little bit off about like wrestling adjacent shows. He also reported that Rose to the Top was renewed when it wasn't. So that was just like something that set the internet a tizzy half the day, and then they came out and were like, very much no, we're actually going to be doing way more wrestling content, which is good. But I think Jericho is. Didn't Mick Foley do the last season?
No, Mick Foley did. I think the first, didn't he? Or did a couple on the first, and then Jericho's pretty much done it since then.
Gotcha. Okay.
Jericho was actually pretty good at that.
He is. He's very good.
Yeah, it's been Jericho, I think, through season 1, a portion of it, and 2. There might have been a couple episodes that they had sort of like a generic, narrator. But for the most part, it's been Jericho, even though like he's been involved in like the sit down interviews and stuff like that. He's been the narrator pretty much, and he's good at it. So let him keep doing it. Also, somebody was talking in here about, here it is. Eric F. Will there be an AEW ROH pod? Now, I don't know if he was talking to us, but I don't know. Well, I mean, from our perspective, once they get on TV, we'll certainly work it in somehow. And maybe at some point we'll have a platform where people can support us and we can give some bonus content. So who knows? We'll see.
For sure.
Oh, I know his podcast is Code of Honor.
Well, Kyle K. Sparks, if you're looking for a Ring of Honor podcast now, we know Kyle K. Sparks has Code of Honor podcast on Body Slam. Kyle K. Sparks is always here hanging out in the chat with us. We thank him for his support. So support him. Give a listen to that podcast. Also, I can't remember the goddamn names, but I know Milwaukee Tom and William Mercier Jr. do a Ring of Honor podcast every now and again.
Yes, they do.
They go, I think they go back and watch some of the shows and talk about it. I don't know if it's a consistent thing, but I know that they do it. So
please support those absolute legends.
Oh, I will say this about Kyle K. Sparks. He's up there with the Shining Wizard guys as just a wrestling encyclopedia. I've never heard someone just in a casual conversation know more about what matches happened when. I don't know how they do it. Like, wrestling just goes in and out of my brain so quickly. And he's like, well, no, they faced off in 2003, and this was the. So if you really want to,
a jobber, so.
Wow, that stopped him in his tracks.
Wounded.
That's good.
Deeply.
Just let it breathe, Ryan. Just breathe.
Look.
And we'll move on.
Call it like it is. But yes, support our friends, all of them.
For sure. And yes, Ryan, I'm with you. That is a type of savant that I don't have. I'm like, maybe they fought like in the 90s, but then like Matt or Kyle K. Sparks were like, it was a Monday Night Raw episode February 3rd of 1996. Third match on the card. I'm like, how do you remember that shit?
I don't remember what I was talking about on my first podcast today, so forget it. Most people that I'm the biggest CM Punk nerd in the world, and I'm like, I don't remember. He fought Kevin Nash at one point. The stuff with Ziggler and Danielson was really good. I have to go back and watch.
Well, anyway, jumping back to the card from Friday night, we saw the first time the baddies teamed up as a trio. That's Jade Cargill, Kira Hogan, and Red Velvet. Unfortunately defeated Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, and Trish Adora.
Yes.
We had
real quick,
since
because we're moving on for that. So that was a fine match. I will point out Willow Nightingale was on Elevation this week. I believe it was Elevation. They get confused which night is which. My head had her own entrance and had a pretty resounding victory.
Yeah,
that is a pretty big deal if you know anything about.
Zoomed in on a sign that said "Sign Willow." So
yes.
I am fingers, toes, everything's crossed for that.
I think for sure, like, again, they're going to need to fill up a roster for Ring of Honor as well, right? So I think you sign her to some sort of contract and you have her spend most of her time in Ring of Honor, but you can always call her up to AEW if you need to, right? So I think you sign her, and I think they probably will make it official at some point. She's one of the bigger names out available right now, so
I would say she's the biggest name that isn't like an NXT release. Like probably Dakota Kai now and Nixon Newell, but she I think is like right there.
Yeah. Well, hope she stays here.
And the baddies are fun as a trio.
It was fun. They worked perfect together.
Yeah, that was good.
I'm loving it.
Like the money fans.
Oh, so good.
Yeah,
I think it's revitalized them.
It is interesting to see how I don't remember if it was Friday night they kind of mentioned it, but they did sort of give reasoning for Red Velvet. It was on Rampage. Okay, I keep getting mixed up where they said it, but commentary called out sort of like what happened to Red Velvet and her attitude sort of adjustment to kind of put her in with the baddies. So it's sort of, it makes sense because from our perspective, she was in this big thing as a face with, Layla Hirsch, and Layla's now hurt. So they had to pivot whatever they were doing with Red Velvet. So it made sense when they kind of explained it. Because I think we had said that the week before was like, why is she even there? Like nobody even said anything. And now they kind of explained it. So they're connecting the dots.
And I'd like to point out their explanation blames Willow Nightingale. Just saying.
It does. That's true. I forgot that was the reason. I know that they said the fans sort of turned on her, and that's why she's sort of like sided with Jade. But yes, it was because of Willow. You're right.
Yeah, they turned on her in her match against Willow.
And like how nice and normal and organic. Yay! Good things in the women's division happening. We like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
some
really
good. As of Friday, it was good.
As of Friday, it was good. But even in tonight's bad, there was still good, I will say. Like there was,
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We saw Keith Lee defeat Colton Gunn. I really thought Colton was going to be able to pull it out, but unfortunately came up just short in his first singles match. So
should have been a squash.
Keith Lee doing Keith Lee things.
Keith Lee doesn't squash though.
Indubitably. I know he doesn't. He should have here, or they should have had somebody other than Colton Gunn in that slot.
Your hatred of the ass boys just astounds me.
I mean, just come on. This did not need to be that
astounds
long.
Me.
It's astounding.
Yeah, I'm astounded.
I'm astounded.
Does that make you an
the more
ass
we say
boy?
ass boys, the more money Danhausen gets.
Well, they did something on Dynamite that made me laugh very hard today, so we can talk about that later. And we can give Danhausen all the nickels.
All the nickels. Speaking of Danhausen.
Perfect segue.
Danhausen came to the ring to confront Hook, and Hook came out ready to fight, and Danhausen started to back off, realizing he had made a huge error in judgment. And that's when Mark Sterling interrupted, and Tony Nese decides to hit them from behind. But Hook is able to suplex both Mark Sterling and Tony Nese to run them off. Danhausen throws a curse at them, and they back off until Danhausen realizes it's Hook behind him, sort of running them off. Fans are chanting Hookhausen. Danhausen offers the handshake, but Hook declines and gets in his face and then walks away. So maybe an unlikely duo coming together at some point. Very rock and sock connection.
That should be one of Ryan's backgrounds someday.
The rock and sock connection?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's too mainstream, Kate.
True, but it was not great.
Wait, Kate, Asian Joe, FMK, Gun Club, Varsity Blondes, Chaos Project.
Oh, I probably kill the Gun Club. I F the Varsity Blondes, and I marry the Chaos Project. That was easier than I thought it was gonna be.
You'd marry the Chaos Project?
So would I.
Like, Serpentico's so funny, and Luther's really nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wait, and
I
then
would.
who are you killing?
The Gun Club,
Who?
the Ass Boys.
Thank you, Nichols.
I flipped that. I killed the Varsity Blondes and I F the Ass Boys.
You F the Ass Boys.
F him right in the A.
Look, you're into what you're into.
Hey, listen. Ryan loves that ass.
He loves to love them. He loves to kick them. He loves to shove them. He loves to stick them.
Stick him especially. Speaking of the Ass Boys, they go backstage and the Acclaimed are offering the opportunity to scissor with them.
Yo, listen.
But the Ass Boys say they need to go talk to their dad. And Austin says, "Yeah, let's go talk to Daddy," which was quite funny.
So weird.
And then I also enjoyed the Acclaimed asking Lexi Nair to scissor, and she just goes, "No." She just refused it.
She's really good. She's really good. Like I think she's underrated. I think she does a great job backstage. She's been very funny the past few weeks.
I'm glad
she's been good.
She didn't have that her show on YouTube, which was fine. I actually found it kind of funny, but I'm glad since they stopped doing that, they've given her a backstage role because like you said, I agree. She's good.
Yeah, her show, her like short kind of interview show was great, especially the one she did with Abaddon, where Abaddon didn't break.
I just loved the whole thing that it was called Outside the Ring, and everybody was like usually in gimmick. It was very fun.
It was fun. I'm behind, by the way, on Hey EW.
Oh.
So I need to catch up. But that's been a great show.
That show's amazing. He has the Ass Man on this week.
I know. I saw. I haven't seen it. And then I think, what was it last week was Keith Lee?
Yeah.
Or was that 2 weeks ago?
I think so, yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, he had Keith Lee on.
I haven't seen it. I gotta go watch it. But anyway, moving on, we get a Mercedes Martinez, leading up to tonight. We'll talk about that match. And then we get into the interview between the main event competitor Samoa Joe and the best friends, Trent Beretta. And then it's time for the main event. And Samoa Joe defeats Trent he defeats Trent in a what I thought was a very fun main event match. And there were a lot of ties, obviously, to the history of Ring of Honor, right? It's in Philadelphia. Both guys have a Ring of Honor background. For Ring of Honor TV. I thought it was a lot of fun. And then after the match, Shivani tries to interview Joe, but they get interrupted by Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh. Orange Cassidy really looking like he was going to hurt Satnam Singh with the kicks. But then everybody starts to get beat up. And then eventually we have a pull apart in the ring between Jay Lethal and Samoa Joe. We get a Pat Buck signing, which was nice to see the tomato in the ring. And that's basically the end of the show. So clearly this issue's not resolved with Joe and Jay. So eventually they're going to get their big blow-off match, I would assume. But I thought the main event was fun.
I thought the main event was fun too. And I don't know if there's anybody who's cut out to be in one of those Mark Henry interviews any better than Samoa Joe. He's like so perfect for that style and looks so kind of like old school in it. Yeah, I'm really, really, really happy that Samoa Joe is in AEW and in the ring. Like, he adds so much value in so many places, but like, I want to see him in the ring really bad anytime he's on my screen.
Yeah.
He's so punishing and such a fun competitor, and just, man, every move is a storytelling detail. I can't wait for him and Miro someday is going to be insane, and him and Eddie Kingston someday is going to be painful. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt real bad.
It's nice he actually won this title and then didn't have to relinquish it and go off television for a long time.
That is correct. That is true.
It's very nice.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Samoa Joe can still wrestle, and
He can still Samoa go.
There you go.
I knew Kate was doing that.
Oof, that one hurt.
You liked that one. I saw you smirk.
I don't know if it was a smirk so much as just like a grit my teeth and just get through it.
That was a good one.
Yeah, and unfortunately though, for Rampage, and I think as well as SmackDown, they said the NBA playoffs and the draft kind of screwed both of these shows in the ratings. But you know what? 10 o'clock on TNT, I'm sure they don't necessarily care if it's a rating boom for them.
And this week it's on at dinner time, bitches. And guess who gets to review an hour early this Friday? Let's go.
Yeah, this Friday it is 5:30 start time in the East due to the NBA playoffs.
Give me that early bird special wrestling all day on Friday. Let's go.
Yeah, and they're kicking off with Tony Storm and Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. So that should be fun.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, Rampage was a pretty fun show. Rampage has been pretty good over the past few weeks. So it's definitely one that if you don't catch it live, it's a great watch on the DVR because it's a quick hour and you can zip through the commercials and do all that fun stuff. So, and they keep advancing the storylines. I think for a while they weren't really touching the storylines, like they were sort of like mentioning them and nothing was happening. But now they're actually continuing these stories. So it's a lot of fun to be able to watch things happen on Rampage.
Hell yeah.
Well, guys, we've been going for almost an hour, so I think we should step aside for a minute. But we should mention that we're part of a network. Both of you guys know that, right?
Excuse me?
Yeah, Kate. Where do you think this show is? We're part of a network. Dare I say, we are the A show of the Shining Wizards Network.
Because I'm so Hollywood, I just show up and I let you guys take care of the rest. You know what I mean? I'm just talent at this point. So
yeah,
I had no idea we were a part of a network until this very moment.
We are part of the Shining Wizards Network. Shining
Wizards Monday night show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Monday night show, the B show of the network. The little show that could. They've been doing it for 10 years, over 10 years.
God bless them.
And I think I said it last week. Who knew you could do mediocrity for so long? Right?
It's a testament. It's about drive. It's about power. You know what I mean?
It's just about pseudo consistency, right? And I say pseudo because it's not great.
Yeah.
It is what it is, right?
It has its moments.
It's wrestling talk and sort of talk about wrestling. With a couple of psychopaths. If you'd like to check out the B show of the network, it's Monday nights at 7 o'clock. And they have some okay guests on from time to time. And they have some fun bits and games and stuff like that. And they have
Priest Coleman this week. Or this past week they did. Yeah.
Yes, they did. So you can check it out. It was a good interview.
Oh my God, Milwaukee Tom's in the chat, but he's Psycho Tom.
I think Matt's said it before. You just got to stick with one gimmick. People are going to get confused.
I don't know. I think he's a legend. We should be more like him.
I guess. Although it was disappointing. He didn't have the visor in New York City for GCW.
Broke my heart.
Anyway, Kate, we're part of the Shining Wizards Network. We are the A show.
Obviously.
We are, dare I say, the MJF of the Shining Wizards Network. We
lost to Sean Dean? Our show lost to Sean Dean? No. We're 1-3 this year?
We're better than everybody and they know it.
Oh, okay.
And when I say better than everybody, Kate, there's other shows besides the B show and our show?
What?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a number of other shows that are part of the Shining Wizards Network. So
Where can I find out more about that, though?
Well, Kate, why don't you sit back, relax, while Ryan and I go grab a drink, maybe take a little bio break. You can learn about some of the other shows that are part of the Shining Wizards Network.
Everyone knows a lot of things can change in the span of 10 years. But when it comes to professional wrestling podcasting, one thing is still guaranteed. The Shining Wizards is the only place to get all the latest wrestling news, interviews with the greatest guests, and of course, tons of laughs in discussing the world of wrestling. The show is still available on Monday nights at 7 p.m. East on rantdmradio.com and Rant Entertainment Media on the TuneIn app. And it's still available on all podcasting platforms. To check us out, head over to shiningwizards.com, where it's still wrestling talk and talk about wrestling.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
Horns up, everyone. When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure every Friday to check out Radioactive Metal. Radioactive Metal is one of the longest running podcasts on the interweb. And every week we bring you a fist full of metal, including interviews with all your favorite artists, discuss all the metal news, and feature the best tunes on the air today. So grab a Lemmy, join your cool Uncle Snowy and co-host Aaron in the pit.
Your recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting from the current to the way back. Join the Impact player Phil Brea and the Portuguese Man of War Choppy for the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Live every week on rantemradio.com. Get all our episodes over at iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Audio Boom, Google Play, ShiningWizardsNetwork.com, and TurnbuckleThrowbacks.com.
Are you tired of being told what to think and believe by Hollywood elites and politicians who just don't care about you?
Tired of not getting the truth when you watch the news?
Tired of trying to figure out what pronoun to use?
Tired of mob mentality when all you want to do is think for yourself and make up your own mind?
That's where we come in. This is Justin.
And Vince.
Your hosts of Inconclusive Breakdown.
We are a weekly anti-PC podcast bringing you entertainment and current event news without any spin.
If you want to truly stay informed on what's going on in the world, then give us a listen every Sunday, anywhere you get podcasts, at least till Zuckerberg and Twitter Jack deplatform us.
And as always, we're proud members of the Shining Wizards Network.
Tired of the PC police telling you what you can and cannot say? Want a show that travels back to the 80s and 90s, where the badass hosts have beaten down cancel culture on 3 separate occasions and carried on to gloat about it? Sydney is that show. Travel back to the malls and arcades, pop in your VHS, and join us where the 80s and 90s return from the dead. Conan, tell them where to find us.
WLWstudios.com, home of the Midnight Jury podcast hosted by Midnight Mike and Calvin Brody.
Also available on all major podcast platforms via the Shining Wizards Network, and join in the conversation on Twitter at Midnight Jury.
What's up, wrestling fans? You want something awesome? Check out Wrestling Night in Canada here on the Shining Wizards Network. We're 3 Canadian metalheads uniting for the love of pro wrestling. Every episode we go over all the latest news and special events with the odd unique interview as well. So grab a cold one and check out Wrestling Night in Canada, eh?
Well, we're back. The PC police aren't going to stop us either, I guess.
I guess not.
They didn't come knocking at my door.
I'll be waiting for you.
Oh.
Come and knock on my door.
Where the kisses are hers and his?
There you go. Well.
Three's Company.
Mm-hmm.
That's us. We're Three's Company tonight.
We know how, some people would feel about hers and hers on the network, but not us.
No. Here, everybody is entitled to their own rights, their own pronouns, and they can do whatever they'd like to their body.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. If you don't like that, if you do prefer, the PC police and, not wanting to, do whatever with the confusion between pronouns, you could take a hike, I guess.
Yeah, don't go to my Twitter account.
Yeah. You could just not follow us at all. By the way, if you do want to follow us, you can find us on our socials at Mark Order Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
We'll send the sticker police after you.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting to. If you want the sticker police to send you some mail, just go to our link tree in our profile. And you can even find links to all our other socials. So if you're just following us on Instagram or something like that, and you can't remember what our handle is, when you get to Twitter, just click that link tree, hit the Twitter button, and you can just follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, all that kind of fun stuff. But the most important thing is that first button to get your free stickers. So all you have to do is click the button, give us your name, your mailing address, the country that you live in, and I'll send out some of these Mark Order podcast stickers. As I said before, Kate likes to spread false, fake news. And
I tell everyone the truth, which is that they're free. You just have to pay for shipping.
No. I'll handle the shipping. You just tell me where to send them.
My God, what a bargain.
It's a bargain. It is 100% free for you. And we thank you for your support and everybody who's already gotten some free stickers. If you haven't gotten them, certainly hit us up with a request and we'll send them out as soon as possible, free of charge. We just thank you for your support. And stay tuned as well to the link tree and our other socials. We've got some stuff in the works. We say that every week, but we do definitely have some other stuff in the works.
It's coming.
It is, I promise. There's just a lot of things going on right now in, 9-to-5 shoot job land that is keeping us pretty busy. Anyway, guys, I was able to beat off the PC police for so long.
You did what now to the police?
They didn't appreciate that.
No, they would not appreciate that. I was able to keep them from beating down my door so that I could pull up the rankings for this week.
In their beautiful new format.
In the new format, the power rankings. They're not just rankings, they're power rankings.
Power ranking.
So on the men's side, we have the champions, Hangman Adam Page and Scorpio Sky. Our contenders are one CM Chicago Mid Pants, otherwise known as CM Punk. Frankie Kazarian moving up to the number 2 slot. John Moxley 3, Sammy Guevara 4, and Adam Cole 5.
Baby.
Thank you. In the women's division, Thunder Rose is our champion and Jade Cargill is our TBS champion. It doesn't look like there's any changes here. Deeb, Nyla Rose, Anna Jay, Jamie Hayter, and Red Velvet. And in the tag division, our champions are Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and our contenders are FTR number 2, Hobbs and Powerhouse. Hobbs and Ricky Starks have moved into the number 2 position. Silver and Reynolds 3, Danielson and Moxley 4, and oh my God, it's Private Party at number 5.
I will forever say with Private Party, when their match is over, when they win, they as they're getting to the entrance ramp or something, that woman should come back over the audio and go, "Oh my God, was that Private Party?" So that they get it on the way out.
Close that loop. It's kind of like VSK. Is that VSK? Like they should be like that was Private Party. It turns out.
Yeah,
it was Private Party. I also used to like how when they came to the ring, they had the velvet ropes and security had to let them through. I also enjoyed how Quen used to wrestle in tails. The long he had on, I don't remember if it was a singlet or if it was a 2-piece like pants and then tights, but the long tails were just ridiculous and classy.
I loved it. I'm with you.
Well, guys, it's that point in the episode where we get down to Dynamite, our Star Wars edition of Dynamite. By the way, how did we not mention that at the top? To all the fellow nerds out there, may the 4th be with you.
And with your spirit.
There you go. Thank you.
No, I'm pre-change, and I'm still also with you.
May your midi-chlorians be plentiful. Yeah, I don't know where else I'm going with that, but
I don't acknowledge
the
them.
only reason I remember the "and with your spirit" thing is John Mulaney.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And with your spirit, they changed it 200 years later to trick John.
Such a good bit.
Such a good bit.
Oh,
but anyway,
so let's get into
May the 4th be with all of
let's
you
get into
in
the
Dynamite Land.
May 4th episode of Dynamite. We start off with the intro video, and Adam Cole joins commentary for the first match of the night, the Owen Hart Foundation qualifying match between Bobby Fish and Jeff Hardy. Let's just get straight to the end of this. Jeff Hardy wins by pinfall with the Swanton Bomb. So Hardy moves on to the Owen Hart tournament. Fish is out. It just winds up being Kyle O'Reilly. Post-match, the Bucks come down to the ring. They square up with the Hardys and jaw at each other before the Bucks kind of break off to check on Bobby Fish. And that kind of ends right there. So let's go to Ryan first. Ryan, what'd you think of the qualifying match? This was the first time we were seeing Jeff Hardy in an AEW ring in singles competition.
I thought it was good. I mean, you had two old men fighting with canes, which I appreciated. But it was a good match.
I didn't see the big red machine in there.
Oh.
See, you two assholes aren't the only ones who can do it.
Well done, Ant. Well done.
I liked Adam Cole in commentary a lot. I thought he added a lot to the match because just cheering on a Fish. Obviously, love the Bucks Hardy standoff at the end. I've been loving their stuff on BTE where the Hardys are desperately trying to get the Bucks to be assholes again because that's the Bucks they want to face, which I think is a really good acknowledgement of when they're at their best. But it was a fine match. I mean, I don't think it's going to be anyone's match of the night or stand out, but it was, not a bad match.
Kyle K. Sparks does chime in our chat. Sorry, Kate. We'll get your take in 1 second. Kyle K. Sparks chimes in. Somebody said it perfectly on Twitter. This was appropriate because Jeff Hardy once competed with Owen, and Bobby Fish helped Stu break into the business.
Bobby Fish also helped sell America. So
yes.
Very nice. This wasn't great. There were some things I liked. I liked the razor drop that we got here. Was that in this match? When did we get the razor drop? I think that was later in the show. I think I'm in it.
Yeah, I think it was. I was just looking over some of the notes. I don't think it was here.
Okay. Jeff Hardy in the pink gear for Owen, loved it. Bucks coming out of the face tunnel after, loved it. I don't think Bobby Fish is the right opponent for what's left of Jeff Hardy. I'm sorry, Jeff Hardy's really old and he doesn't move like he used to because he abused his body for like 2.5 decades or whatever.
What's left?
Bobby Fish hits really, really hard, and this was not a good combo. I thought a lot of this was very stiff, and I think I'm so used to them starting off Dynamite with like absolute bangers and like high energy tags that this like admittedly like fell a little bit flat for me, but I think it was just like an opponent mix up. I like that we're going to get Darby versus Hardy. I think that's going to be fantastic. I liked the confrontation with the Bucks. I like the Bucks being solidly heel or face. So I like what it led to, but between the ropes, it was a little stiff. It got a little rough in there.
Yeah, I think the outcome was exactly what it needed to be, though, right? And I think that a lot of this match was sort of the thought like, oh man, could the elite, the ultimate elite, or the whatever they're
Elitist of elite. Yeah, the super
who
elite.
I can't even keep it fucking straight anymore.
The elitiest.
The undisputed elite. I think that most of the story was like, could they have 2 members in this tournament? And the thought was there, like, yeah, maybe they would, but this was the way to go. And they did release the bracket later in the show, but I want to get to the other match before we kind of talk about the bracket. So, fine way to open the night. I think this was the right match to open the show with, right? Because there was a lot of other things that they wanted to kind of lead into. So let's keep going. They did show the William Regal Blackpool Combat Club video package, which was fantastic.
So good.
They do a really good job with their video packages, and if people aren't watching the Road to Dynamite YouTube shows, you should check some of them out. There are some really good videos that they put together to build kind of to the weekly TV shows. It's not all gold, but like this week, that video package for Blackpool was fantastic. So
and
that
last week with the Dax and Cash stuff, it was really good too. They've also kicked up the quality on that.
Yeah, for sure. But that did lead into the match for Angelico, the Butcher and the Blade, versus the Blackpool Combat Club. As we get through this match, it's kind of more of the same that we've seen out of the Blackpool Combat Club. They put the hurting on as a group at the end, and they win by submission. Danielson is able to get the triangle choke on Angelico as he taps out. So the Blackpool Combat Club continue to roll here. Listen, I didn't have a problem with this match, guys, but I'm almost at the point now where it's like, I don't know if we need to continue to see this trio week after week. I think they might be able to let this breathe. I think they've been pushing Yuta, really hard, which is fine. And the crowd's been behind Yuta. And they also made mention that Yuta is taking place in the, I don't remember the cup. It's what
Super
it's
J?
the New That's it. Yep. You got it. Schlong, say it again.
Super J?
Yes, the Super J cup. I want to make sure we got it out there. I thought I
for the light heavyweight. It's the light heavyweight cup that New Japan does. That even though I'm not a big New Japan guy, even I knew about that one.
It's anybody under 100 kilos, right? That's how they kind of qualify the
so like I could compete if I wanted to. I just choose not to.
That's right.
Of course, yeah.
That's right. It would be unfair. So yeah, I mean, listen, I didn't have a problem with this match, right? I was glad to see Angelico in the ring. I've always liked Angelico. I really honestly thought the pairing with Jack Evans was kind of what might have been holding him back a little bit. Because I think Angelico has sort of like a unique, he's long and lean and can do some crazy looking stuff. But I think it's just like, I don't know what you do with him now.
Plus, he dances like this. He's like, oh, look at me. I'm just like this.
That's right. He just lets it all shake out. So yeah, I mean, it was an okay match. I feel like now we've been seeing the same thing out of the trio week after week. I feel like we can let this breathe a little bit now. Like, I don't think we need to see this on a weekly basis, but open for discussion. Kate, what did you think?
So I think the only thing that I don't need is like, I don't mind seeing them on my screen if they're going to be in a feud that's going somewhere. This just like hodgepodge of people that face the three of them is not like something that I find compelling, but I absolutely love this group. Whoa, hiccup, excuse me. I absolutely love this group. I think live crowds are going to be expecting to see Jon Moxley and or Bryan Danielson, and CM Punk wasn't on the show tonight too, so you have to push some of those guys out there, I think. But the match was fine. I don't need all three of them in the ring locking stuff on. I know it looks cool and violent, but like, no, I don't need that unless it's a tornado tag. Like, I'm so sick of this inefficient ref scheme that we always have running. But I think they're like my favorite faction probably going right now. Like, I find this more interesting than the Super Elite stuff, to be honest. I I really, really like what's going on. It feels violent. It feels like they could grow. Don't forget that Gargano and Claudio are still out on the free market too. So like either of them could really come into something like this and make it great as well. There's so many ways and options this can grow, but my favorite thing that it's doing is I think it's a really great way to make Moxley and Danielson feel very important without having them be near the title picture. Because like the way Danielson came in, I was like, they're not going to be able to keep the title off of him and have him feel important. Like, how do you make those two things happen? Like this is fantastic. Regal on commentary is great. Him calling Excalibur or calling Tony scrumptious just cracks me up. Like I just love the dude. He had so much. He was talking about his history in New Japan as well. So I like where it's all going. I just don't want it to be so directionless. And we've got a pay-per-view coming up in a month. So like if you're going to build out a story with them, let's make it happen sooner than later.
Schlong, any thoughts on the Blackpool Combat Club in this match?
So you're right. It is a lot of the same in terms of match style. However, and I do think they're going to have to start to let it breathe, but I'm kind of like taking the spot in between the two of you because what Kate said is right. They are trying to build up this trio as like this force in AEW and keep those two guys super popular, super over without going to titles. So that means you're gonna have to see them a lot and have them do a lot. But at the same point, I don't want to just see these trios every week against opponents they're gonna beat. They're gonna need a feud at some point. Now AEW has, we talk about wanting a trios division, and then Matt's rolling his eyes somewhere at me saying that. But the reason we say that is they have a bunch of trios that work. We're going to talk about two more tonight. And then the first segment had a bunch that could work. I mean, so they just need to pull someone out and say like, this is your first true feud. And then I think you're going to really see it ramp up. But I think this is just to establish them as a force. But if this is the route they're going to go for a while, do it every other week. Just don't do it every single week.
Yeah, I agree. Like, they need to get something going. And if they're not going to be pulling the trigger on trios titles in AEW, we know they have them in Ring of Honor. So if they're just waiting for Ring of Honor TV to come back, and then they're maybe going to heat up the trios division in Ring of Honor and pull some trios, teams over from AEW, like I get it. But yeah, I don't need to see it every week, and I don't need to see the same stuff, right? Like you said, Kate, the three of them putting on, holds at the same time and then hitting the elbows or the boot, the stomp. Like, I just don't need to see that week after week. We've seen it, and I love all these guys, but it's just like, after a while.
Yeah, you burn out on it. I will say too, I think Tony Khan had said in an interview that like I think they're waiting for Kenny Omega to come back before they do trios titles. Like I think he had said he can't imagine introducing those without Kenny being involved. So my guess is when a healthy Kenny Omega returns, your inaugural trios title feud will be this super elite blow up type thing. It's my guess. I don't know anything. But.
Well, only time will tell. We got a little while before Kenny comes back, so we'll keep that on our radar. But we continue on in the show with a backstage confrontation, Jurassic Express and Team Taz. Jungle Boy says a match feels like fun, but Ricky seems pretty spicy, so let's spice it up. Jungle Boy says, we'll give you a tag title match if you give me a shot at the FTW Championship first, and Starks accepts that challenge. So next week, he'll show him what a real man is all about.
As we're talking about this, it reminds me that we forgot the most important part of Rampage, which was Ricky Starks calling them a wannabe Keenan and Kel.
Oh, that totally went over my head this week.
Yeah, it was pretty great. He called Hobbs and Swerve wannabe Keenan and Kel. Or I'm sorry, Keith Lee and Swerve.
Well, talking about Keith Lee and Swerve get an interview backstage, and Swerve says Starks and Hobbs have unfinished business with them, and then Keith Lee starts going into his thesaurus to throw out a whole bunch of words to describe Starks and Hobbs. So they definitely say they're jumping the line, and they haven't finished their little story here. So we'll see what comes next for this Keith Lee and Swerve versus Hobbs and Starks feud. Maybe that'll come into play in the next couple weeks. So we'll see.
Hell yeah.
Guys, we're at the point in the night where we have the mystery opponent that nobody knows who it is against Wardlow. So Wardlow comes in, no music, being led in by security, and MJF says he'd love to say it's great to be back in Maryland, but he'd be a lying piece of shit. And I really laughed when JR said to that. Well, I thought that was already established. So I thought that was funny. But he says he's going to go watch the match in the back, and Wardlow should be terrified of the man about to come through the curtain. He's 7 feet of sheer unadulterated power who's never taken an L in his life. It's the big W, William Morrissey. Nobody saw this one coming. There were no clues to who it was going to be.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I know. I had no clue. But it was Wardlow versus William Morrissey. We'll cut to the end here. Wardlow wins by pinfall with a single power bomb on Morrissey. It should be noted too that Wardlow hits a moonsault on Morrissey and lands on his feet. So just more stupid stuff that a guy his size shouldn't be doing, and then also able to powerbomb Morrissey, who is just gigantic. Pretty great. Also mid-match, the crowd starts chanting, "We want Enzo," and the other side of the crowd says, "No, we don't." And Morrissey did react to it. He did the little Enzo dance and then basically started flipping off the crowd and stuff. Pretty fantastic. Anyway, post-match, Wardlow is waiting to get handcuffed to be led away, but he starts to destroy security as they come to put the cuffs on him. MJF sends another wave of security there, but Wardlow is able to overwhelm them. He power bombs one of them onto the out of the ring onto the other security guards, so everybody's now out on the floor. And Wardlow says that he's not going to stop. He'll beat everyone MJF throws against him, no matter how big and strong, until MJF gives him a match and lets him out of his contract. And Max asks him how if he'd like a match, where he gets out of his contract. He then pulls the crowd and says he's on, but he's got some conditions. And MJF is going to give those conditions in a contract signing next week. Not in a dump like Baltimore, but in the most magical place in the world, Long Island.
Disneyland.
Oh, no. Sorry, Ryan. That's what I thought too. But Long Island, New York. So we will get the contract signing and all the stipulations next week. So, Schlong, thoughts on the match? Were you shocked to see Morrissey?
Stunned. I thought it was going to be Enzo. I think Morrissey was a smart opponent. He's had a good Impact run. You're not beating someone else on your roster, but he is a big boy. And that helps someone like Wardlow to show I know Wardlow was shorter, but Wardlow's width really helped out, show how big Wardlow really is for the stuff he does. And it helps every now and again to give your big guys to beat, because it just makes them look better. He did some fantastic stuff, but really, I forgot most of the match as soon as the brawl with security started, because that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Just one guy runs in, one guy gets knocked down. One guy runs in, one guy gets knocked down. I feel bad for whatever security company MJF is using, because they are going to be paying out a ton in insurance claims.
I don't, because they're not very good at security, to be honest. He's gotten through every single time. They're bad at their job, so.
Yeah, but you try to stop that big boy.
It's not my job. It's not my job to do that, so.
Maybe if you're security, this is the gig you want, because you get a little bit of that workman's comp, a little time off.
It's true. Maybe they're gaming the system a little bit here. I don't hate that. This story has been nearly perfect to me. I think it's just been incredible how they have really turned up the gas on making Wardlow a star. He's, in my opinion, grown tremendously in the ring. Storytelling wise, for sure, his stamina is much better than it used to be, and he's showing more agility with what he can do. So this has been a really fun acquisition. I think I like that he didn't win with the symphony though. Like, I actually thought that was a nice touch of like, okay, we're not going to do this to every single guy. This guy doesn't even work here. Like, there's no, it kind of loses its luster if you're doing it to guys that big a little bit. I feel like week after week, like, I don't know. I just felt like it was a better story to not use it. But I thought this match was a ton of fun, and I've just loved the way that this story has unfolded. I was trying to think of what those stipulations are going to be at the contract signing. Steel cage doesn't feel right to me.
No, because MJF's going to want to get away. So why would you put yourself in the cage?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's drawing up the terms, right? So maybe it's a street fight. Like, he's gonna want to allow for interference, right? But he's pretty old school, so who knows what he'll come up with. I think it should be fun. But yeah, I thought this was great. The story has been unfolding on a really clean, nice timeline. It doesn't feel, in my opinion, like it's dragged on, because each week we've seen Wardlow get challenged in a new way. I feel like some part of his game has grown in a new way. Like, we're seeing all these new shades of the story and of the character that Wardlow is becoming. So I really, 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 really liked this story. Like, I just feel like this and what they've done with Wheeler have been so well crafted. This has been awesome.
I also want to give MJF credit when he was about to speak and he stopped because he heard the Wardlow's going to kill you chant.
Yeah.
He stopped himself to let it get over. Really good moment.
Yeah, that was nice. Guys, maybe one of the stipulations, I know someone said it in the chat here, but I was actually thinking that maybe the stipulation of the match will be something almost like a gauntlet, right? Where Wardlow will have to go through, one or two other people to get to MJF. Because I just have a feeling Spears has to be involved here somewhere, right? Like, whether it's a handicap match or something where Spears gets involved, like Kate, to your point, a street match or something would allow for that interference, but I think it's going to be more precise, right?
Is there any chance Wardlow stays handcuffed?
That was going to be the other thing I wanted to throw out, was that maybe the stipulation is that Wardlow has to wrestle in cuffs. Yes.
That's really where I thought, because they've had him cuffed so much. It's like, how now in the match do you not cuff him? Now, my question is, who wins? Because do you give MJF another loss and set Wardlow free? Or does
free? Like, that is a thing, that he's 1-3. But he could lose again and lose his mind and then just go on a winning streak or whatever. Because I feel like Wardlow has to win, doesn't he? Like, don't we have to pay this off here? I don't feel like it's something that they need to run back. And, like, I don't think, like, Slave Boy Wardlow is going to feel like a good story. So it'd have to be either extremely protected, or MJF then is just, like, hitting Spears with a steel chair and going out of his damn mind.
Yeah, I feel like this has to be resolved. I'm sort of with Kate, where Wardlow wins and then maybe just gets destroyed with a chair or something like that.
Maybe it's unsanctioned.
I just don't know if that benefits MJF. You know what I mean? Like, and he's only going to do something that's going to benefit him, right? So making Wardlow wrestle in handcuffs, or, I don't know, something else that would be crazy, like he's strapped to something or whatever, right? Like, he can maybe only reach a portion of the ring, right? So MJF can always sort of escape. Who knows? I mean, we'll find out in Long Island next week. So,
see, my problem here is, sorry to cut you off. It's just I don't want to. Is that to me the most interesting conclusion to this is that MJF, before we got to the stipulation of this match and all this, before we got to this point, was I thought MJF was going to fire him, and then you'd see Tony Khan hire him so you'd see the graphic Wardlow is all elite. Like I always wanted that moment. But now the whole story is that he's just going to be put out of his contract. So you can't have that moment of MJF firing him because that's what he wants.
Not if
Like
you win.
No. My point being is, I always thought the resolution, the story, and I don't, not that my way is cooler. Just I always thought this is the thing people thought was cool, was that that Wardlow would eventually get himself fired by MJF, so he wouldn't be able to work in AEW. And then the ultimate revenge is that Wardlow gets signed by AEW on his own, and MJF's like, oh fuck. Well, now you don't have that. Because the whole point is to get Wardlow out of MJF's contract so that he could work at AEW. Like that's already been established. Whether they meant to or not, they've kind of like
basically put that out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he, it's not like he can lose to MJF and have MJF go, you're fired, because he still gets what he wants then. So it kind of removes that ability from the story.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't mind. Like this whole thing, to Kate's point, I've really loved this whole story. Wardlow's been doing everything he has to do to get to the point where he's having a match with MJF. So I don't hate this. I'm interested to see how they resolve it, but they can do it a couple different ways, which I think we've said before is sort of the fun part about this, right? Is in some cases we've had really clear visions of what's going to be coming up right in front of us, but on other things like this and some other stories, we're like, how are they, there's 8 different ways they can get out of this. How are they going to do it? So this right now for me seems like one of those where they have multiple outs. I'm just interested in seeing how they get to the end.
Agreed.
So we'll see in Long Island what the stipulations are. We mentioned before they build up to the Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Ruby, and Tony Storm match next week in a backstage segment. I don't think we need to break that down. But what I do want to talk about is the interview that was done in ring by Hangman Adam Page and Tony Schiavone. And Adam Page says he could talk about how much he respects CM Punk and so on, but he's not going to. He says this isn't going to be a masturbatory Bret Hart tribute match. He's going to destroy CM Punk, and he calls out somebody specifically wearing a Punk shirt and says that he's going to be bringing that merch back to get a refund after he's through with CM Punk if he doesn't burn the gear first. And then tells the crowd that he hates to be the bearer of bad news, but as the champion, he's responsible for telling us that the beloved CM Punk isn't there tonight, and it's probably because he's off filming some TV show. We'll talk about that later. But he wanted a fight, and now he's got one, and it's going to be the fight of his life at Double or Nothing. So, guys, what I found interesting was this was maybe the most heel Hangman Adam Page I feel like we've seen in a long time, right? Like, he just flat out came out and talked shit on CM Punk, for the whole thing, especially the masturbatory Bret Hart line. I was like, whoa, that is something that a heel would say. So this one caught me by surprise. It just was not the Adam Page that we've seen this whole time, this humble, anxiety-ridden millennial cowboy who drives a Longhorn Tesla. This was really like sort of, I'm saying heel shit running down a fan favorite build to this match. It was quite surprising to me. And Kate, you're a Chicago mid-pants mark, so I guess I'd like your take first here. But did you find this as shocking as I did?
I found this very surprising because, well, first of all, I'll say I like if you're going to have a heel versus a heel or a face versus a face, if you build out layers and if you sow seeds of doubt about who's leaning in what directions, that's really great storytelling. Like, I don't need a cemented heel versus a cemented face by any means, but I do need depth to your characters if you're going to go in with like a face versus face situation. But this wasn't him just talking about CM Punk. That Owen Hart line was like That was a lot. That's a heel thing to say. So it definitely set off like fun alarm bells. I think the assumption would be that Punk is the one that's going to turn heel. But if you had told me 6 months ago that Bryan Danielson was going to be a top heel in this company, I would have laughed at you. Like, there was no way that was going to work, and they made that work real damn well. So, I thought this was awesome. I found it very refreshing. Anybody who's full of the lack of story around his title reigns, I think most people have thought that the matches have been great, but the story's been lacking since the Danielson feud ended. I think we're gonna get a hell of a story here because this is something else. I was very caught off guard in a good way, and I loved it. I think it's so much fun. I think you might get him saying like, this guy can't just come into our house. Like, look at, basically pointing to him and Kenny, I think will be the direction they go of like, look at everything I put up with for 2 years, right, to win this title, and I'm not going to drop it to some guy who came in here less than a year ago. I'm very, very intrigued by this, and I love the way that they caught me off guard because he could just be building out depth. He could be turning heel. I'm very intrigued to see what CM Punk responds with. Very intrigued.
Yeah, it just, like you said, surprising because we haven't seen this out of Page, really, this cocksure attitude of I'm going to whip his ass. You know, like he's said things like that, but not like this, where he said, you know, it's not going to be a masturbatory Bret Hart tribute match. Like that just was the line that got me. I was like, whoa.
That was quite a line. And, you know, I also don't want to underestimate the possibility that, like, you know, the COVID snots can really get to you.
Very true. Maybe he had some COVID brain fog.
It's very possible.
Forgot he was a face. But Ryan, so shocked Kate, shocked me. What did you think of this?
All right, now I'm laughing at the idea that he went out supposed to deliver a babyface promo, like a white, and
sorry,
just
man.
Ryan got confused and he went down a totally different route.
Oh crap!
He's like, I'm not really fully over it. I'm a little foggy.
See, TK's in the back, like, what the fuck do I do now?
What just happened?
I'm of the belief that this is depth. So far, Hangman's two major title defenses, I should say, where, I mean, he's had a couple, but it's two major ones, were Danielson and Cole. Danielson made it very personal, very quick, and Cole, they had a history, so I guess their fear might have been like, what do you have in this match? Because Punk and Hangman don't have any history whatsoever to go off of. So they're trying to get, in my opinion, layer it out to be like, Hangman's annoyed. He's annoyed that he's got to, like, this guy's coming in and he's getting all this praise and he's, you know, doing, you know, having these tribute matches and doing all this bullshit. Like, he just wants to win and hold his championship and he's going to put it out there. And I don't think it's a full heel. I just think it's giving an edge to him so that there's some fire behind this match.
Yeah, I mean, it you know, to Kate's point, I think we've talked about it before, thinking Punk's going heel. Maybe this is, you know, as Gordon Post says here, could they be doing this so we'll be surprised when Punk turns at Double or Nothing? Yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility. It was just surprising that out of nowhere, Adam Page out of nowhere.
Had nowhere.
You know, just with this sort of hard-edged promo. But, you know, they had the stare down a couple weeks ago, then the COVID snot, so he wasn't there last week, where CM Punk delivers this bubblegum babyface promo. Now you have this, you know, shit talk promo from the champ. So it's interesting. You know, we'll have to see what CM Punk comes back with. But he's not here tonight, so we'll see what happens next week, because he's going to be in Long Island facing off against Johnny Hungy. So we should get a response. That's right. We should get a response next week. Commentary hypes up that we're going to get Kansuke Takashida's TV debut coming up. So if you haven't seen him wrestle, you'll get to see him on TV at some point. He's a lot of fun. We also get Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh cutting a promo talking about how there's no respect for them. They don't get any of the red carpet treatment, yada, yada, yada. And now we're into the grudge match. Chris Jericho versus Santana. Guys, as predicted this week, I don't know if you were paying attention. This week, they said, your leader in sports entertainment for 8 weeks. They did update the voiceover. Just fantastic. And the introduction to Jericho was that they introduced him as a wizard. And commentary, somebody was like, yeah, that started on Friday night.
Yeah.
It was just so fucking fantastic. And Santana jumps all over Jericho at the onset of the match, and it is back and forth throughout. However, at the end, Jericho wins by pinfall with the Judas effect. Post match, the JAS jump on Ortiz and Santana to beat them down. So this is not over. The hit is still on for everybody. It'll be interesting to see kind of how this shakes out now moving forward. But, I'm not sure if, I didn't know how this match was going to go. So I felt they could have gone either way and continued the story. Ryan, any surprise with the outcome of this match? Like, did you think like, all right, they're going to give the receipt to Santana and then maybe they're going to get it back worse? Like, I just, this could have gone either way. I just don't know what I was expecting, how I was expecting it to go.
Everything went the way I thought and wanted it to go up until right as Jericho won, because I knew Jericho would win. I just didn't see him losing this match. What I thought was going to happen, what I wanted to happen, was you'd start the beatdown, music would hit, Eddie would come out with some help, and you finally have even odds and whoever else they were bringing in to make this thing, even. And I thought this was going to be their big moment. Now, I will say, what city were they in tonight again?
Baltimore.
Well, New York's, Long Island's closer to where Eddie's from than B-more. So next week would make more sense.
Well, don't forget too that Eddie's nursing a burn, right? He got his face burned off by the Wizard's fireball, Jericho's magic.
Yeah, but so was Eddie. I think he had a shield up. It's the whole thing.
You think he has fire protection spell?
I do. I think he rolled his dice and it rolled, natural 20s.
Okay.
My whole thing is, I didn't need to see another beatdown. We've seen this every week for the last 4 weeks. Like, give me something new.
Okay,
and that's where I thought.
But you know what I also thought of? Where else do I see that? It's the
God.
Every time there's something I don't like about what they do, I'm like, it's a fucking work, isn't it? Like, I'm pretty sure all of that's extremely intentional. And it might not be because, they also get in that trap in AEW sometimes with the gang war stuff. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure all of this is extremely intentional. Because even the way the beatdown is done is so sports entertainment-y to death that I was like, I'm pretty sure everything that I've gotten hoodwinked on is a work. I understood and I immediately get, right, the obvious stuff of that's entertainment and the entertainment of the week and the sports entertainment talk. But there's been these little nuances that I'm like, that's Chris Jericho doing Jericho-ish stuff. That, I think, I'm pretty sure them beat downing us to death with the story is I'm pretty sure I think we're being trolled. I sincerely do.
Honest to God, if this is a troll, it changes my entire mind.
That's the problem. And it's brilliant because I don't even know. I love it so much.
Asian Joe beat me to it in the chat. He says, I wish they'd do 10,000 quick cuts during the JAS beatdown of Proud and Powerful. I was actually going to say the same thing. When do they start doing the zoom ins with the camera?
Yeah, Kevin Dunme is the 69 me Don. Kevin Dunme.
Oh my god, that made me lightheaded. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm, I honestly never gave thought to that, Kate, that maybe this is all just, meant to be that work. But yeah, it sure as shit is perfect for it to be. Yeah, I mean, I think like I've kind of, where my brain is going is this is the blood and guts, JAS versus whatever group is put together for essentially LAX. And I think we're going to lead to that. I'm with you, Ryan. This is probably where we're going to see some sort of receipt next week in Long Island, with Eddie and maybe some backup, maybe a hit squad. Maybe they don't call it LAX. Maybe they call themselves the Hit Squad or something like that.
Oh my god, the Hitmen.
Oh, wow.
Let's just keep going with the Bret Hart tributes, right?
Sure. Just keep it going. But either way, listen, I think the other thing that we have to, man, you just got to say it. Jericho at his age, for as long as he's been doing it, can still do it. And, it works. So if he's going to have a match like this, and listen, we've talked again ad nauseum about that Judas effect coming out of nowhere at any time is such a dangerous finisher, that it's awesome. So, I think I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens next week. There's likely to be some sort of return, and if there's not, and they let it breathe, even better, right?
I do want to call out, I thought that this was a really strong match too. Like, I think he and Santana had really, really good chemistry today. They probably know each other pretty well because they were in a faction since the beginning of the promotion, but I felt like ring style wise, something clicked in that we haven't gotten to see Jericho do in a while. And not that he's had bad matches, but like him and Eddie looked like they were going out there trying to kill each other, right? Like this was a little bit more of like a pro wrestling match that was, I feel like, in both of their wheelhouses a little bit more. Like I liked a lot of what happened between the ropes. I felt like this should have opened the show.
It could have. It certainly could have. Although, it had a little more heat than that opening match. I think maybe they just wanted to open with an Owen Hart qualifier, right?
Which is totally fair.
Yeah.
I also just like it when people said Hardy Fish in the beginning of the show.
Ooh, Hardy Fish.
Like a Hardy Fish. Hardy Fish. Next.
Get your Hardy Fish.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Broiled or steamed. If you really want your Hardy Fish fried, you can certainly do that.
Of course.
Well, moving on from this, we get a Joe promo on Jay Lethal. And we go to break. So we're still obviously building this storyline between Joe and Jay Lethal. They're eventually going to blow that off. The Ass Boys have presents for the Acclaimed after this, and they open them to reveal scissors. We're all scissoring, by the way.
Yeah, if you're listening in audio form.
Yeah, that's why we're so quiet, because we're scissoring each other hard. Scissor me timbers. Scissor me Xerxes.
Well, we have South Park fans here.
Yeah, oh yeah. I love South Park.
The best.
So it looks like there's a little alliance forming there. And then we go to the ring with the Varsity Blondes and Julia Hart for their call out of the House of Black. Pillman says he admits he's been chastised because of all the longs with the House of Black and seeing everything he's worked for get torn apart. Shouts out a friend of his late father's, John Harbaugh, who's in the crowd, and says he attacks each day with enthusiasm unknown to mankind. And then he talks about the House of Black trying to drive them apart, but today is a new day, and he's
yes, it is. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. He's feeling enthusiastic about getting their group, keeping their group together, and calls them out for a match now. And that's when the House of Black enters. They surround the Blondes and attack. They wind up lawn darting Brian into Griff Garrison, and then Brody King cannonballs them. Malachi Black then corners Julia. So Julia still got the eye patch on. He stares her down. She trembles. She walks past him And then Buddy Matthews grabs her by the shoulders. Brody King gives her a chair, and Julia is holding the chair high to attack Griff Garrison. But she doesn't, and that's when Malachi Black rips her eye patch off and shoves her down. So she's sort of melting down and sobbing. We don't see her eye, and the Death Triangle comes in to make the save. So we don't get the payoff on the eye, right? Which was sort of disappointing to me. I understand that this issue's been there, but they've sort of cooled it off for such a long time that it's almost like forgotten at this point. Here's my thing. Well, you know what? I'm going to hold this till we get to later in the show. But what do you guys think of this segment? Kate, what do you think?
Okay, so the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys, I just want to say that I've been on record as saying that I do not care for the Ass Boys. But when I think it was Austin Gunn said, "Papa," I almost fell off of my couch. We talked to Papa and I lost it. I was laughing so hard. Bowen's almost cracked too, I think. I do not care about Brian Pillman Jr. I'm sorry. Like, they haven't been on TV. I have found his promos pretty boring. Like, this is just not been for me. I do appreciate like the fun surface level of it, as we've had like, it's felt like the quarterback and the cheerleader and this evil force. Like, it kind of feels like we're setting up a horror movie of some sort, which is like perfect for House of Black. But the thing is, House of Black is really cool and really good, and I would like them involved more in this either Death Triangle, if you're going to run it back, awesome, like whatever. I just have no real emotional reaction to when Brian Pillman Jr. is on my screen right now. And also dragging out this eye patch thing is just like, for me, it's a little much. Like, how much TV time are we going to give to this eye patch? I also did not know this, and our friend Cass at Body Slam, who bought us waters at Arthur Ashe, which we will forever be thankful for because we were dying. I did not realize that Julia Hart's graphic with the eye patch looks like it was made in MS-DOS. Have you seen this?
Oh, yes.
Yep. It's amazing.
Or MS Paint, rather.
It's a bad Photoshop, yeah.
It's terrible. I was like, dude, you could just Google an eye patch. That's not going to be like a copyright thing.
Or just take a new photo of her with an eye patch.
Take a photo of her with an eye patch. It's so bad and misshapen and weird. I did not know that until the other day. Hysterical. But yeah, I was just like, I don't need this on Dynamite television right now. You want to stick it on Rampage? Fine. But I did not need that eating up like primetime television. For considering the women's match was like 8 minutes at the end, this whole thing could have been cut. But House of Black is so fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was going to be my point. But we'll talk about it later, about this segment. Schlong, thoughts on this segment?
So it has been kind of tossed away, except if you watch Dark and Elevation, Julia is always sitting on the steps. I thought this was going to be her big moment. Clearly the crowd wanted it. They cheered loudly when they thought it was going to happen. So I'm giving them benefit of the doubt because I have a feeling Malachi Black is the one writing most of this out. Based on what you hear from AEW, they kind of, Tony gives like the beats and then lets the wrestlers. So I'm going to give him credit because he's a pretty creative guy. Her acting was pretty good when she was in the Court of Trembling. Like, that was really good. I do want her to join it. I don't know what she'll do there, but I would just think it'd be an interesting twist and give them something else. I agree. It could have been on Rampage. It probably should have been on Rampage. But the only thing I did like was when they came back from commercial, you still had them in the ring, and then Phoenix was there like, all right, I'm getting ready for my match. And no, that sounds so small, but it's just so different than what you're used to in wrestling. Like, WWE is so produced that when it's almost like awkward for a second, which is way more natural, I just appreciated it. So yeah, I liked it. I agree. Probably would have rather that time go to the women's match, but I like the story and I like that the rivalry between Death Triangle and House of Black. So that's awesome.
Well, it will be interesting to see how this plays out for all groups involved, because I agree. There's to me, the stronger issue with Death Triangle and House of Black. That's a feud I'm more interested in than this Varsity Blondes thing. Let's just get to the end of the Julia story. But we move on from this, and they go backstage with Smart Mark Sterling and Jade Cargill and the baddies. They're cutting a promo how they're going to dominate the Owen. Just another look at Jade Cargill. And then we're into the Dante Martin versus Ray Phoenix match, which is the Owen Hart tournament qualifying match, the second one of the night. This match to me could have certainly gone either way, but Phoenix winds up winning by pinfall with the Fire Thunder Driver. And we see Phoenix embracing Dante Martin at the end. So Phoenix moves into the tournament. And then we get a promo from Darby and Sting where they talk about what a special night Jeff Hardy and Darby is going to be, and we go to break. So just taking a moment here, now that we know the end of this match, they did release the bracket. I'd like to talk about the bracket in a second here. So we'll talk bracket in a minute. They did release the men's bracket. But Schlong, what do you think about this match? I thought it was a lot of fun, very entertaining.
Oh boy. This was a banger. Those two just went. I would love to see this rematch. I'm not gonna lie to you though, because of the awkwardness that I loved of like the Julia still being in the ring when they brought him out. I really thought she was gonna cost Phoenix the match. I thought like that was actually gonna be her turn. So glad it didn't happen, because I liked that this was just a straight up match, but I was just kind of waiting for it. But man, that was. Those two can fly. Like even simple moves that like other guys can do, they do it so much better because of just how much height and speed they can pull off. And it was just amazing move after amazing move, and a good story. Like you could see when Dante had control, the frustration that he couldn't win and like just kept trying and trying. It was that was one hell of a match.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Jim Cornette's match of the year. I think we know that much.
Absolutely.
Friend who's sometimes in our chat and wonderful to us on Twitter, Doc Mueller said, like, I'm sorry if you don't think Flippy Do stuff is fun. Like, you're not invited to my birthday party. And I loved that. That's kind of how I felt about this. Like, this was so much fun. The sheer athleticism of both of them is so ridiculous. And their ability to land on their feet for things that no human being should be able to land on their feet after doing is absolutely bonkers. I'm not going to be mad to see Phoenix go on, but I was really thinking this was going to be like a Dante Martin goes kind of far and gets some notoriety here, especially while his brother's out. I now have hypotheses on what might be next for Dante Martin that we can talk about later.
So do I. I think we're thinking the same thing.
Probably in the same boat as far as who might enter the picture and somewhere around 30 days from now. But I was kind of hoping that this would be like a continuing to make Dante a star type thing, but like I'm not mad about it. I just thought it was going to go in that other direction, and I kind of was interested in seeing that. But I'm never going to be mad when Ray Phoenix advances to be on my screen more. Like, he's just so unbelievable. And this was really, really fun. This was a well-balanced episode, I feel like, where the opening match wasn't super for me, but, like, stylistically, I think we got a lot of different types of things on here. Like, hard-hitting, technical, flippy-doo bullshit, sports entertainment. Like, this was a real buffet of what AEW is about tonight.
Well, it was a fantastic match, and they did show us for the first time after the match, since everything was sort of set. We had the bracket release for the men's tournament. So we do know that on the right side of the bracket, our two matches will be Jeff Hardy versus Darby Allin. And they had a promo afterwards about that. And then we will get Adam Cole versus Dax Harwood. I think both of those have a lot of potential to be good matches. We're also going to get Ray Phoenix on the left side of our bracket. We get Ray Phoenix versus Kyle O'Reilly, another high potential match between those guys. Could be almost a clash of styles, but could make for a fantastic fucking match. And then we're going to get Samoa Joe versus a Joker entrant. So we don't know who it's going to be. Now we can certainly talk about that, who we think that's going to be. There are some names hanging out there.
It's gonna be me.
It's gonna be Justin Timberlake.
Why not Joey Fatone?
Because he didn't sing that part.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, Ryan popped himself so hard.
No. Ant's defense of Joey Fatone is what got me there. Like, no, it has
Why
to be
not
Joey.
Fatone?
Yeah, like,
could
that
be.
was very sincere.
Poor
of you.
Joey.
Guy's chubby and his name is Fat One.
It's a fair point.
That's how you spell his name. Fatone. Fat One.
The fat one.
So guys, I think there's a lot of potential in these matches for the first round of the tournament for the men's division. They didn't say anything about the women's brackets, so I guess we'll see. Maybe there is a match Friday night.
There's 2 women's matches on Rampage.
That's right. So I thought I had it in front of me. I don't remember who they announced for the final qualifier on Friday night. Ryan, did you remember who that is?
No,
if you don't, it's fine. I'll have to look it up. Or somebody in the chat can tell us.
I lost so much focus when the men revealed a Joker slot that I was like, wait, what's going on?
So
I just show up. Okay. I can't be bothered.
So thoughts on the Joker? Anybody?
I am torn. The top 3 names that came to my head were Cesaro / Claudio,
Sure.
Miro, and Johnny Gargano. I have a feeling Johnny Gargano, if he's going to come back, is going to come back in an ROH fashion. I don't have reason to suspect why. It's just a gut instinct that he would be like in the ROH picture a little bit more, which I guess against Samoa Joe you automatically are, but I don't know. Just feels different to me. Part of me thinks it's Miro, because Miro and Samoa Joe would be ridiculous. But the tricky part is I want whoever Samoa Joe is facing to lose, because I want to get a rematch of Kyle O'Reilly and Samoa Joe, which is one of the best ROH matches ever, period. So incredible, amazing. But Miro versus Samoa Joe would be ridiculous. Claudio versus Samoa Joe would be fantastic. And then Kip Sabian also popped into my head because he's just sitting there with a box over his head at ringside. And then you could also have Miro walk back into that story, not being in the tournament if you wanted to. So I don't know. My gut says Miro, because I just can't imagine how that wouldn't be one of the most compelling matches of the tournament, and the booking wouldn't totally matter.
I just feel like when they announce a Joker, it's always somebody new.
Yeah, it is an outside talent.
And whether they stick around or not, that's a whole different story, right? I mean, my mind immediately first went to Gargano because he's been out there the longest, and I think there's been a lot of thought that he's going to show up in AEW, but he hasn't yet. And there were certainly times where we felt like this is it, this is the moment, and it hasn't happened. So that was one thought. Claudio, I definitely thought about,
he fits this tournament. Like he definitely
certainly
fits
does.
The Owen Hart tournament. Yeah.
Certainly does. I don't hate the thought of Miro, but I just, again, because it's a Joker slot, I feel like they give you somebody new. So that's why I would think it's either one of those guys. Schlong, are you on board with those? Anybody else?
I don't really have anyone else because I don't think you do a Joker for someone who's not a big name in one way or another, and those are pretty much the biggest names on the market right now.
The only other person I could think of is Josh Alexander, and he's signed to Impact. He's one of the few people there that's actually like full on signed to Impact.
Yeah,
and he just made it to the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. I mean, my whole thing is if Miro is a nice Swerve, for instance, like you said, Ant, they've always been outside people, so no one would suspect Miro except for Kate, because it's never been internal. The only other, but my argument against that is because he's only a surprise return. I think you'd want to hype up the Miro Samoa Joe match. Like that is a match that people will tune in for. So
I also think you would want them both to win. Like that's my tricky thing with Joe and a Joker. I'm very worried it's Satnam Singh.
I don't think it's going to be Satnam Singh. I just don't think it's there yet. Again, I think it's somebody coming from the outside.
I'm on the outside.
Is there anyone from Old Ring of Honor that we're looking over? Like it could just be Jonathan Gresham, but I don't think it is.
Hey, Kyle K. Kyle K, throw a name out from Old Ring of Honor. You're the one who probably knows them all.
Probably.
I know my ROH roster.
What's the look?
Do. I just don't like. I like Shane Taylor versus Samoa Joe. Certainly.
Wait. When you say old ROH, do you mean like December?
I don't mean like. No, all of them are signed to AEW or WWE. What are they like? Kevin Steen is not gonna come in here.
Yeah.
I mean, like before bought out, like the shows we were going to, Ring of Honor. Like if there's anybody that might have gotten overlooked, but like I don't think Cheeseburger's coming in here, right? You know what I mean?
No, he was on Dark.
Show up on Dark
tonight, though.
He got a nice ovation. Yeah, he got a nice reception too.
He did get murdered.
He did.
By
the Murder Hawk? Who did he get murdered by? I forget.
Schlong. Who killed Cheeseburger?
Oh, Tony Nese.
There you go.
Because my whole thing was I thought Cheeseburger stood a chance because Tony Nese has probably never had a cheeseburger.
I could tell you this. That match did get watched in this house.
But not when it aired, because Mrs. Money was not happy about the fact that you had her out food shopping.
No. We were out. First of all, that makes it sound like I made her go food shopping. We were out together food shopping. Thank you. And then I came home and rode the stationary bike. So.
I'm just going to tell you what was on Twitter, and that was her not happy with you.
Well, I'm just going to say that I'm glad the PC police aren't breathing down Ant's neck for making it sound like he made his wife go shopping for food.
I did.
How dare he?
Yeah, I mean, I just I have a feeling. Yeah. I have a feeling it's going to be either Claudio or Gargano. And I think if you're looking for somebody with ties to Ring of Honor, it would have to be Claudio, right? I mean, that's your guy.
Or Gargano. Like, it could be either one of them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean...
Claudio's so Owen. Like, it's so in that vein.
Did you guys see who? So I don't forget, and I will forget, and I don't think it's probably gonna be in your notes. Did you see who was at Elevation tonight?
No,
TMZ beat reporter.
I know. Seriously,
no, it was on
report.
Twitter. Is really you want me not to spoil Elevation?
Who was it?
Tony Deppen.
Oh,
Deppen.
Yeah, so it was. He had a match. Like, so I don't think it's a spoiler for something that's coming out on YouTube on a Monday. I don't think.
No, that's fine.
Well, it hasn't aired, and I haven't watched it yet, Ryan. So thanks a lot.
Too bad.
Anyway, well, we were talking about the Joker spot and some of the theories there. I know, Kate, you had mentioned you had a theory about Dante Martin. Do you want to insert that here, or do you want to get to the end of the night?
We can talk about it here. It's just NXT release related, so I didn't know if you had that in news and notes, but no, I could absolutely see 10 people got released, 5 of them hadn't debuted to television. The 2 names that are being talked about the most are Malcolm Bivens, Stokely Hathaway, and Dakota Kai. I think Dante Martin being paired with a manager that's going to set and manage him instead of like the bouncing around business is something that could be great. I think the obvious play for Bivens / Hathaway is the baddies. Like everyone seems to think replacing Smart Mark would be a really, really good way to go. And between the way he shit posts about women on Twitter in the funniest way ever and like the natural charisma there. I think that would make sense. But Dante being on one page with a manager who can speak for him, who can manage very, very well, like him to important spots, especially while his brother's going to be out longer term, it looks like I think could be really, really, really beneficial to him. So that's a possibility. And I was like, oh, they might have been like, Dante's going to go far in this tournament. And they might have been like, that guy's got a 90-day or a 30-day, and we're going to make a competitive offer for him. So they definitely have interest in him. So we will see what happens. But that's something that floated in my head, is maybe let in 30 days, Bivens get his hands on him.
I'm in agreement there, especially after hearing Dante's promo on Dark last night. He's young and he's still working through it. He's not the best on the mic. Bivens could just do wonders for him. I can't imagine how much he could. You can put Dante into so many important rivalries just by giving him Bivens, because now you have a guy who can talk.
Yeah, and like a manager who, that's the nice thing about a manager in such a stable, heavy environment too, is like you could build out, his brother could come back, or you could have Dante and Private Party, or it could be a mix of the baddies and Dante and another male talent or whatever. Like you can play mix and match. And I think a manager who is like not an old white guy is something that could really benefit him. And I think his presence on screen is so counter to like how Regal is and how Tully is. Like he's a much more modern and still in some ways throwbacky take. Like he definitely is there to make money and get wins. But like
I actually think he's more throwbacky in the sense that he's just a pure manager.
He is. Like that is what he's there to do, which is refreshing. But I just mean like somebody that's up to date, that isn't like all about violence and whatever. Like he's there to kick ass. And I don't know. I think it's a really refreshing take that can undercut some of the seriousness in like a really, really good way. I would love to see him in mic battles with people. But Dante, being a young growing talent that needs a microphone, I think is something that's really, really good.
A lot of theories being thrown around in this section of our show. Only time will tell, folks.
That is true.
Only time will tell. We'll come back to revisit those theories as things start to shake out. So we'll see what happens. Either way, just jumping back into the men's tournament. Should be interesting to see these first round matches. And we know we're getting one, as we said, next week. Jeff Hardy versus Darby. As they come back from commercial after that promo, Thunder Rosa makes an entrance to say she's got a story to tell, good guys, bad guys, success, failure, etc. Cutting through this promo, she basically says the reason she got into wrestling was because she was so interested in Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb really was the one to kind of get her to follow her wrestling dream. And she calls out the number one contender to the stage. Deeb says that it's been a long time and she's watched Rosa scratch and claw her way to the top and respects her for that. But she truly believes they can make the best division in the world. But that needs to happen because the best woman in the world needs to be champion. So Rosa asks what she's saying. Deeb admits that she's the champion, that Rosa's the champion, and suggests that she's the Deeb is the best, and everybody's thinking that. So it's about time that Deeb becomes a champion. And so we set up our next match for Double or Nothing, Serena Deeb versus Thunder Rosa. Now we've been waiting for this. Right? This we're talking at least, it feels like a year ago that Rosa was saying, I want Deeb, I want to get my NWA title back, I need to win AEW gold. Now, obviously, Deeb doesn't have that NWA title anymore, but we still wanted to see this match. So now we've got a few weeks to build to Double or Nothing, and we've got this on the books. Now, I don't know about you guys, I didn't necessarily love this back and forth. What I thought we got better out of Rosa this week is it seemed like she slowed down and, got through all of her talking points. But then once Deeb came out, she was trying to kind of go back and forth with her, and I felt like this was clunky. Like, it just seemed like a slow exchange here that sort of ate into the time because this came so late in the show. I was happy about the announcement. The way it came out, though, didn't necessarily love it. I don't know about you guys, but thoughts on Deeb, thoughts on the segment, and I guess Deeb and Rosa getting this title match at Double or Nothing. Kate, what do you think?
Very excited for the match. Very excited for the match. And yeah, the segment itself fell flat, but they've got a couple of weeks to build this out, and I think they might get into the good stuff. On both sides too. Rosa did slow down. She at least talked about like what it meant to her, which I thought was good. Like that mission statement promo that we didn't get at the beginning of her reign, I feel like popped in here a little bit. And Serena was a little clumsy too, which surprised me. Like, her saying that like this could be the best women's division, but for that you need to have the best woman as champ is just kind of weird when there's already a champion. Like I get where they were trying to go. It just never felt like they fully got there. But I'm just more excited about like this is not gonna be Nyla and pastries anymore, right? Like this is going to be an ass kicking match, and I hope they bring up the NWA history because I just think that it's right there, and I think the only reason they didn't bring it up tonight is maybe they're saving it for future weeks because they like kind of danced around it. So didn't love the segment. Very, very, very excited for what the match could be.
Schlong, what do you think here?
It was it almost felt like a tale of two segments. Rosa's original part was fine. I actually liked her original part. Like you said, she slowed down. She did that right. So I was a big fan of that. As soon as Deeb came out, it fell pretty flat to me. She, like Kate said, that I think it was Kate that said the going back and forth did not work. They would have been better off letting Deeb speak, stopping, letting Rosa speak, stopping. But through long periods, not just one word responses. Yeah, it was not great mic work from them once they were both there, but I'm okay with it because we know the match is going to be awesome. And next week, this was just more than less to announce it. So let's give us now, the fire behind it because there's a lot there. So this didn't hit, and I saw a lot of people online did not like it, and I get it. I thought Rose's original part was fine. I would have been happy if that's all it was, but they need to. They either need if Rosa, I think, is a fine talker, she just gets ahead of herself. If this is as good as Deeb is on talking, then they're going to need to get her a manager.
She needs to be in the Blackpool Combat Club.
Yes. So, and then William Regal can talk for her, and we're set. But also, it's just the announcing segment. So let me see where they go when they actually start going at each other. This was more of like, I respect you, you respect me, which is always the announcing part. So if they bomb a fiery promo, then I'm gonna be like, all right, we gotta shift gears a little bit. But the match is gonna be so amazing that I don't really care what they say.
Yeah, it's been a lot of Rosa talking on the ramp. Like, get Rosa in the ramp. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're maybe going to have some matches leading into the pay-per-view, not against each other, but against others. And maybe we're going to see Rosa in the ring and then Deeb come to the ramp and sort of do the, fake applause, like, oh, pretty good, and maybe we get Deeb do the same thing, have a match and Rosa come out and kind of give the, okay, we'll see. But who knows? We'll see. Either way, I'm excited at the announcement of the match for Double or Nothing. So we have our championship match, our 2 championship matches set for Double or Nothing. Now we got to fill in the rest of the card. What I can fill you in on now is the card for the special start early bird special edition of Rampage Friday night. We're going to see Kansuke Takeshita versus Jay Lethal. So Takeshita is making his television debut. We're also going to get Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. We will get Hook in action versus Kate's man crush JD Drake.
I love JD Drake.
And in what I can only describe as my nightmare match of the night, the women's qualifier for the Owen Hart Foundation Cup, Yuka Sakazaki versus Riho.
The Ant Dream match.
That is my nightmare.
They literally were like, what would AntMoney love the most? Got it.
Yes. They were going to try and make it a triple threat with Shida, but...
Just wouldn't work out. It's a qualifier. It needs to be one-on-one. Can't do it.
True.
So, guys, this leads us to our main event of the night. Deanna... What's that?
Excuse me?
Oh, sorry. This was then, it was then time for the main event.
Thank you.
We had our Ring of Honor Women's World Championship unification bout. Deonna Purrazzo, the champion, versus Mercedes Martinez, our interim champion. Now let's cut to the end of the match real quick. Mercedes Martinez wins with submission, the Dragon Sleeper, to become the undisputed Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. Deonna taps out. Here's where I just was like, come on, like, what are we doing? It was 13 minutes when they made the entrances. By the time they started getting into action, I think they were down to like 9 minutes. And the slow start to this match, before they really got into any action, I think they had like 6 minutes left. This House of Black segment, as much as I love the House of Black, they didn't need that on television. Give that to this match. I mean, it is comical at this point. Hearing
and they
them
went
announce
to commercial at 9:52.
Yes, which they've been doing regardless of the match. Which they've been doing that regardless of it's a men's or a women's match. At the end of the show, I don't know why they're squeezing in one more ad break. I mean, they're getting paid, so I guess you're going to squeeze an ad break in. But it's just crazy that within like the last 5 minutes, you're squeezing in one more ad. But I don't know. Like it just, this match, it's comical. This is where I was going. I got sidetracked. It's comical for me now to hear them announce a 60-minute time limit when they have 13 minutes and they're starting their entrances. And you can clearly go to your cable provider, schedule and see that there's no overrun. And they're telling you, we're going to stay with this as long as it's not going past 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, we're not fooling anybody here. It goes the same way with men's matches too. That's driving me crazy lately is it's a 30-minute time limit. Well, you've got 6 and you're not going over. We know you're not going over.
We see the program guide.
I mean, even when they go, we will stay with this as long as possible. And then, as long as we need to. And it goes to 10:02 for that one night. Like, you're not going past 10:02 then. Like, we know that. One boggles my mind that this is the main event. It's a unification bout for a belt for a company that you own, that you need to continue to have eyes on until you can get it onto television, and you give it 13 minutes.
Yep.
And Deonna is such a big name in women's wrestling that you should maximize her time on your television for this week. You know what I mean? Like, it just...
Yes, I do know what you mean.
They missed... To me, they totally missed on this. Cut out the House of Black stuff. If you want to cut out a match from the card too, they could have honestly cut out the Blackpool Combat Club match again. From my point of view, we've seen this same match with different people week over week. So like, they could have found a way to give this match more time. It just, again, blows my mind. There's 13 minutes left. You're starting your entrances, and this is your unification title match. I would rather have them led the show with this to give it as much time as they needed rather than end the show, to be honest.
Yeah. It's hard because I don't want to come on here and rant every week. And there is progress here that I don't want to be lost. I know you're not excited for Yuka and Riho, but like there are 2 women's matches that are going to be on. This did main event the show. This is a unification match with talent that is fantastic, right? I've been wanting for Deonna to get in here for a really long time, and then she did tonight. So,
but and I don't mean to cut you off, Kate.
no,
and that's,
but
again,
the butt is there, right? Like the butt is fucking always there in some way, shape, or form. You know,
it's just all of that is yes, agree to all of that. But you announced this last week. It's a huge thing. It's a unification title match, and it's treated like an afterthought. I just don't understand. I don't get it.
Preaching to the choir on that, and I so appreciate that because it does get old. It does get old to be like the woman talking about women's wrestling or whatever. Like, it's very comforting to have guys like you that are in the same corner of wanting it to be good and wanting it to be better and getting frustrated by the same things, right? And it really comes down to exactly what you said. Like, it's annoying when you do this with the men in the main event slot and go to commercial at 9:52, right? And now, like, it's the same thing of like, if this was Adam Page and Danielson, people would be losing their fucking minds. Like, it's it's so frustrating, and there's been so much forward progress that it really was a little bit sour, because it's just like they seem to put their foot on the gas a little bit, right? Like, we're seeing Willow, we're seeing more women's matches, we're seeing more meaningful stories being built out, but then they go and do something like this. Like, it's and like, what's frustrating on my end is it feels like they're gonna also say like, well, the women main evented. You know what I mean? Like, it always feels like when they do stuff like this, it makes it feel so performative, because it's just like, well, but then you didn't actually give a shit about like the execution of how that went, right? Like, well, we gave you Deonna, well, we gave you the main event. It's like, well, stop like giving a shit, right? like give a shit about it. So just definitely frustrating. These 2 have had matches on the Independents and on Impact that were fantastic. I felt like, you know, there's not a lot to analyze there because it was like 6 minutes long, but what we did see was pretty good. I would have been intrigued to see a lot more. I can say that much. But yeah, it didn't feel like the big deal that it should have felt like to close the show.
Now, comment in the chat. The review booth said the women's match was crickets. The crowd was totally not into it. Match should have never been a main event. I'm going to say this. I disagree with that, review booth. I'm sorry. I disagree with that only because I don't agree that it should never have been a main event. Not the case at all. A unification title match has all the right in the world to be a main event. The match certainly did feel like crickets to me, but I think that is because it was a victim to the amount of time they had. You cannot start this match the way they did, feeling each other out, when you literally have like 9 minutes to get to a finish. You have to get off from the start and get the crowd invested to get to the end. You really do. If they had 30 minutes, you can start this match this way, build, and the crowd will get into it. There's no time for that here. So yes, I agree with the point that it was crickets, because it did feel that way. But I just don't know why I get why they wanted to build the match this way, because it's sort of how you build a match, but not when you don't have time.
Well, in Mercedes, that's how she works too. It's like slower, it's powerful and stuff. And like, the other thing that's a little frustrating when the audience is crickets, it's like, well, yeah, because you brought in Mercedes, you had her on TV a couple weeks, and then you didn't really do much with her. And a lot of us have been clamoring for Deonna, and I think she's a huge name, but she hasn't been on AEW television before. I don't know who in the live crowd knows her. Like, these are also, there was no promos for this because, like, if they had cut out the House of Black crap and given Deanna a quick promo and then gave this like an actual 20 minutes or whatever, like, we're having a completely different discussion about the end of the show, I feel like, which is sad because that doesn't take much at all. Like,
I mean, I think the other thing too we have to maybe keep in mind, right, is with Deanna being signed to Impact, who knows how much access they may have had to Deanna, right? So maybe they didn't have the access to get her to do pre-match promo type stuff, right? And also, this may be the only window that they could have had to get her in, right? I don't know what her plans are for Impact.
but they did like a rose to the top thing with her that they could have shown, or something, or something on digital or on social or whatever. Like, just show that.
I don't disagree, but again, who knows what sort of access they might have had to Deanna for her to cut something? Who knows what sort of access they might have had to footage either, right? Because in the promo they had Mercedes give, they only had short snippets of Deanna at one event wrestling, one Impact event. Maybe that's all they were given, you know what I mean, access to. I don't know. Who knows what agreement they made, but they had to get the belt off her, and this is what you get. I mean, again, I would have loved to see them do a very, I would have seen not a very long match, but I would have liked to see a longer match in order to get it to build properly the way you would normally build a matchup. But it just, this is not how you do it, unfortunately. It's not how you do it. It didn't feel special when it should have.
Yeah.
But Kate, maybe we're wrong. Schlong, what do you think?
No, I actually. So reading that comment from the review booth, I both agree. I think I get where they're coming from. I don't think they're actually knocking the theory of the matchup. I think it's more the presentation they're saying is not a main event. They did not present this as a main event match. You had no build. You had nothing behind it. Like, that takes. If you want me to care, you have to make. Now, I cared because I happen to be a geek who follows all this stuff. But for most people, if you want them to care, you have to make them care. And they did nothing to do that. And then you give them 13 minutes. It's like, yeah, you're not going to get what you want about. The match was solid for the time it had. I mean, they delivered on what they could in the little bit of time they had. I would have started that. I'm agreeing with you. As much as I like the Julia Black thing going, that should have been on Rampage, or that should have been a digital exclusive. That should have been anything you could have easily done. And that was what, an extra 5 minutes you could have given this match. So now you're going from 13 to 18, so they get almost a solid 15 minutes to wrestle. You could have had a real good match on that. And they should have given them promos. Listen, she showed up at that building today, so they had time to cut a promo. And put it out.
They had that whole pre thing, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It just.
They had time, and they should have. And even if they didn't have her for promos for like the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you didn't really need her to tell the story. You know, you have talented storytellers in your company, have them go talk about it, put some footage about the history of the ROH title, you know, and like how important this is for these women. And you would have been something. I listen, I don't think they booked this differently than they book a men's main event. The problem is, because of how poorly they've done it, they've handled the division other times. You can't just
not a men's unification title match though.
Well, that's true. You haven't had many of them except for the TNT.
Right, but even a regular men's title match, never mind a unification. Like, if 2 men's champions were in the slot, this would never have happened.
No. I mean, they need, when you've been booking the women's division terribly, when you give them a main event, you have to give them a main event. You can't cut short. You have to go long. You have to give them more than you give others to make up for the shit you've been giving them. Because, yeah, tonight did feel like the last couple of weeks, it felt like they've taken the right steps. And then you come out and you give me this, and it's like,
they punted the execution. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I don't, again, there could be a bunch of reasons we don't know about, you know, but it just seems
like, sorry. Yeah. Like, If you can't do it right, don't do it.
Well, they had to do it. She had the belt. You had to do it.
Okay.
You had to get
do it in Philly at some Ring of Honor, whatever the fuck that. Like, if do
well,
not.
they wanted to do it at they wanted to do it. They wanted to do a WrestleMania weekend, but she couldn't because she was booked to the.
I
Impact
understand that, but I'm just saying, like, the more you continue to do this shit, like, you're better off not doing it. You're better off Deanna just like forfeiting the title and she can give some heel promo about how it doesn't matter because Impact's the only women's wrestling that matters or whatever the fuck. Like, you can't like do what they did tonight.
All they had to do was give him 15 solid minutes of wrestling. You wouldn't have had an issue.
Literally,
you could have done the commercial when they did.
We would have been
raving. You could have done the commercial when you do the commercial because the commercial happens at that time every week, so no one could complain because that is just what happens. That's agreement with the TV station. Fine, but if you give them solid 15 minutes of wrestling, you say, okay, well, I mean, you gave them what they wanted, what people need. Like, but yeah, that's stupid. Like, I liked it, but I'm calling it the stupid House of Black segment. I don't feel like the segment was stupid, but for the purposes of this show, it's stupid because it fucked, the whole situation up. Like, that should never have been there when you have this match.
Even the Rosa segment could have been cut short. Like, you want to do that segment, fine, but cut the speaking down, in half, right? Yeah. And just...
Or I could just keep... someone said, like, well, what would you rather? And then, you know what I mean? Like, I get so much, well, what would you rather cut for the show? And then when I say what I would rather get cut from the show, people get mad that I would say that should get cut from the show because it shows, like, well, why are you knocking that talent? Like, it's not my job. It's not our job to design the show. It's fucking theirs, and they need to do a better job about it. Like, that's it. Like, we can sit here and talk about what could have and should have been cut. Like, they get to create whatever show they want, and that's just like what they did tonight is not acceptable. Like, what would you rather cut is not a conversation for us to have. That's a conversation for them to have, and they need to get better at how they have it because this is just not fair.
Yeah, I mean, they still could like the House of Black segment. The beauty of Rampage is it's recorded, so you do something like that, and you can edit it to fit the rest of the time of the show. You didn't have to do it on a live show. I mean, because that's probably a solid 5 minutes that you could have given to this match, and that 5 minutes is a huge 5 minutes. That's the entrance. That's the entrance and 2 minutes of wrestling. So you've given them enough to do something. Like, you've given them enough that they now have a long enough match that no one's going to complain. Especially knowing that you're going to have two women that work, at least one of them especially is going to work a slower style, which does not work well for a 8-minute championship match. Like, if they were both of your quicker wrestlers, you could say, well, they'll give us 8 banger minutes, but that's just not who you had.
Yeah,
this is not who you had.
Especially Mercedes, but that's not Deanna's best work either. Like, it's frustrating.
And I mean, the way that this match ended, I didn't have a problem with, right? Mercedes looks super strong, submitting Deanna, right? So she is a strong champion. Like, that I don't have an issue with. It's just the fact that you've got a limited amount of time. And I understand, I see in the chat, people are saying, well, Mercedes is a veteran. She can't just rush into this. She's got to pick her spots. She knows what she's doing, blah, blah, blah. I get it. And I don't disagree with that. But when you have 6 to 8 minutes to get your shit in, you can't start off slow, with breaks in the corner. You just can't. The crowd has no time to get invested in it. You need to have them in from the start. And usually when that stuff happens, the crowd is sort of like slow at the start, and then they build into the match as it builds, right? We've seen it plenty of times in other stuff in the past where match starts off slow, the crowd's sort of quiet, and then as you build the match and things get more competitive, the crowd gets into it and the crowd is more involved. But with 8 minutes, it's impossible to do that. You can't do it. All in all,
well, and who knows what they agented versus what they actually got to do, Like, it's a mess, and they need to knock it off.
Listen, I mean, all in all, I thought the show was entertaining tonight, right? I mean,
show.
it was a good show. It just the way that this kind of got shoved to the end of the night with a limited amount of time. And who knows how much time they originally kind of gave to it, right? They might have said you're going to have 20 minutes and then you get to the end and you don't have 20 minutes. You got 13. And not half of it, but the first 4 minutes of that is your entrances. It's just it's just a shame that it had to happen that way. But I think overall it was an entertaining show. We have a clear picture of what's going on with the tournaments, which we knew are starting next week. So we needed to kind of get that stuff figured out. We have a new we have a new match announced for Double or Nothing, so we're kind of building towards that. So I think a lot of stuff came up in the show that was good, but again, it's just the way that sometimes they handle this stuff towards the end and try to shove so much in. I think they have to maybe start thinking ahead to the end a little sooner in their show. Maybe you can cut stuff, from the show when you see, hey, we're going over on stuff. It's just got to do it. Got to do it. All right, guys, some news and notes from the past week. The ladder match TNT title TNT title ladder match between Sammy and Scorpio Sky we talked about last week. We said, how did Sammy not kill himself doing that 630 off the ladder? Apparently he did injure himself, but nobody knows. Well, from what I saw, there wasn't a lot of information on the severity of that injury. So he is injured. We might not, I guess, see him wrestle for a little bit. So, he didn't kill himself, but
he tried.
He almost did. He really hurt himself. Guys, the other news that came out today in the AEW world was that there was updates on the video game. And there's YouTube videos out there. I think they did it on Twitch today, but they put stuff on YouTube. Evoluno dropped information. The game will be called Fight Forever. And it apparently won't just be for consoles. It's also going to be available on PC. They released some looks at the project, including gameplay footage that featured Chris Statlander and Nyla Rose. There were some reports saying that there would be around 50 wrestlers at launch. That would be less than half of AEW's current roster, but there have been discussions about downloadable content and stuff like that. So nothing's confirmed. There's still details sort of trickling out, but apparently there are big names like Sting, CM Punk, Danielson, Adam Cole, and Ruby Soho expected to be included. I think it was Cassidy of Body Slam is out there reporting that Owen Hart may be a playable character in the game. So there's no launch date confirmed, but people are surmising that they're targeting September of 2022. So this game is coming. And I didn't get a chance to see the gameplay footage. I did see some stills. Looks promising. Listen, wrestling video games are a lot of fun if they're done well. So some of the footage looks great. I think we all know that the people who are involved with this project, I think Kenny and some other wrestlers who have a lot of video game knowledge or love are involved with this. So I think they want to make sure it is a good game. So we'll see what it looks like as it gets closer, but promising footage yet again. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. We know Kate's going to be playing it. Thumbs up from Kate. It's an audio medium, Kate.
The silence played.
That's your fault. You should be watching us. We're so fun.
Very true. So, guys, a little bit of speculation this week about Stu Grayson's status with the company has been confirmed. Wrestling Observer and Fightful Select have said that Stu Grayson has joined the ranks of Joey Janela, Jack Evans, and Marco Stunt. as a wrestler who's been removed from the roster after their contract expired. However, it should be noted that Grayson was said to have been offered a new contract. However, the sides couldn't come to an agreement on the financials, so he is not with the company right now. However, the door is still open to a return, but they would have to settle on the right dollar amount. So Grayson's out. However, Alan Angels, Reynolds, Cabana, Silver, Preston Vance, and Anna Jay are still listed on the roster page. And Uno, I think, confirmed that he's still with the company as of May 3rd. He put up a tweet saying, Evil Uno is here. So
John Silver, whose arms are sirloin steaks.
That is very true. So hopefully, listen, I fucking love Stu Grayson. I think he's great in the ring. I love the work he does with Evil Uno as a tag team. They've been a great tag team for a long time. So I hope that there can be an agreement and he comes back to the company, because, I think those two guys at some point could be a tag team in the mix, with a title shot or anything like that, because they are really fun. But obviously we have to come to a deal.
Yes.
Guys, did you see? Guys, did you see the booking for the IWGP US title match in DC?
I did, and it's on my birthday.
Well, if the people out there listening haven't seen it, Ryan's shaking his head. I don't know if that's at the birthday comment or if it's at the fact that he didn't see.
I didn't see it.
Well, it is going to be May 14th, Capital Collision in DC. Tanahashi versus Moxley versus Ospreay versus Juice Robinson for the IWGP US Championship.
Holy smoke.
Holy moly. There's also going to be, I think the rest of the card that's sort of been announced is Eddie Kingston versus Tomohiro Ishii. Okada and Trent Beretta versus Jay White and Hikuleo. And in just an insane match, Brody King versus Minoru Suzuki. Somebody might die during that match.
Yeah, it might be me, just from watching it.
I mean, I remember, Kate, being at Ring of Honor in Baltimore with Jay Lethal and Brody King, where I really thought somebody's chest was going to be caved in. Because
and I thought that person was going to be Jay Lethal.
Yes, because Brody King was just slapping the shit out of his chest.
Boy, was he.
So yeah, that card is shaping up nicely, and that IWGP US title match could be nuts.
Agreed.
So CM Punk was not at Dynamite tonight, and Adam Page said he may be off filming something. So yes, CM Punk is part of Stephen Amell's Heels on Stars, the wrestling drama.
But this was Mayans, right?
Yes. So he is part of Heels, but he has also worked into a role on FX's Mayans MC. Apparently Punk debuted in a role as a military veteran on the 4th episode of the spinoff from Sons of Anarchy in the 4th season, which aired on May 3rd. And apparently the showrunner said that this character will be a recurring role. So if you are a Sons of Anarchy or Mayans fan and a CM Punk fan, then keep your eyes peeled, because you're going to maybe see more Punk.
All this guy's ever done is just what he wanted to do. And so many people hated him for it. Look, God bless this guy. I love him. It's like, you know what? I feel like writing comic books. I'm going to be on a TV show. I'm going to be in horror movies with my wife. I'm going to wrestle. Like, that guy rules.
I will say this though, some of the film work he did while he wasn't wrestling in his hiatus was not great.
It was like the B-level horror movie, right?
Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah. I mean,
speaking of acting and maybe CM Punk's best friends, if you're a fan of the Young Rock television show, keep your eyes peeled because Colt Cabana will be playing the Brooklyn Brawler on the Young Rock. I believe that episode was set to air last night. So if you were watching, last night because now it is past midnight, but the May 4th episode of Young Rock. So if you were watching Dynamite, you might not have seen it. So check it out on your DVR. But yes, Brooklyn Brawler was played by Colt Boom Boom Cabana, Kate's other boyfriend. And the final piece of news that I have that I've come across is that some AEW fans this morning, or maybe yesterday morning, sorry, on May 3rd, got an email from Ringleaders. That's a Warner Media run online focus group similar to the Ease Fan Council. They sent an email asking for help naming a new AEW show coming to TBS. There was a description of a what sounded like a reality show, and it read a little bit like this: a new AEW show is coming to TBS. We want to know what you think this new show should be named in the below survey. The brief description of the show was, quote, AEW's top performers are ushering in a new behind-the-scenes wrestling series like no other. Every episode will track our core cast on the road at AEW events as they try to hold on to the titles they have or win back the ones they've lost, with everything culminating at the biggest pay-per-view event of the year. They all hope to walk away champions, but there aren't enough belts for everybody. Heroes will rise, villains will fall, champions will be crowned, and with more access, more star talent, and more drama than ever before, we'll see it all through the eyes of the biggest names in the company. So, that being said, there were some different names being considered for this show, which they put to, I guess, a poll, and those titles were AEW, Friends and Enemies, AEW, Fight to the Finish, AEW to the Mat, AEW to the Top, AEW Road to the Belt, AEW Breakout, AEW Grit and Glory, AEW All Access, AEW The Climb, AEW On the Ropes, and AEW Uprise. So to me, guys, it sounds sort of like maybe like the Road to series, that they've been.
Oh, I was just going to say, it sounds like Roads to the Top without Cody and Brandy being the center of it.
Yeah, I was going to say that, or even like the Road to series that they run on YouTube. Maybe like a combination of those two things. They're just going to put on TBS. My question to you guys: did you any of those names, do it for you?
No, I think I'm gonna say AEW's strength is not naming things. Like Full Gear's not a good pay-per-view name. Like I don't think that it's the best.
Well, something tells me, Kate, that this is probably the network coming up with some of these names.
I'm sure, but like, does not. No, to answer your question, no, not great.
A lot of this to me reads like
Uprising.
Yeah, a lot of this reads to me like television executives who don't know anything about wrestling, just trying to come up with catchy names that aren't catchy. Especially AEW Friends and Enemies.
I mean, hey, there's bad guys and good guys, right? Nailed it.
Hey,
I want to know what's on the cutting room floor. Were they like, okay, AEW, the explosion of Dynamite? Like, I want to know if this is the short list, what is the long list? Dying to know.
I mean, and if this is the short list, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
it's
7,
like
8, 9, 10, 11.
11 names.
Of all of them, I mean, I think maybe the one you sort of say like maybe Grit and Glory, but
That sounds like a Ring of Honor pay-per-view name.
certainly does.
I don't like them.
Yeah, none of them are great. That's all I know.
Back to the drawing board, fellas.
Well, if there's anything I know, the TV executives will just pick a random name off the list regardless. I can't say if there was a write-in option, but I do like Mark Quill's suggestion. AEW partners and non-partners.
That's perfect.
Kyle K. Sparks also said AEW partners.
And it's Eddie Kingston hosting a show of any sort. I'm so unbelievably in on. Shocker, I know.
Could be fun. But guys, that's all the news I got for the week, unless anybody else has something I missed.
I mean, I don't need to talk about NXT releases a fourth time, but it's probably worth mentioning that there's two women's talents, Dakota Kai being a fantastic one and an incredibly versatile wrestler. She would be great. Bivens, I think, is an obvious shoo-in if he wants to go there. And Persia Parada is also great. But younger, like, still has some work to do. I don't think she's like an obvious pickup. I would say Dakota Kai is someone you should definitely have. And I think if you're establishing a new ROH women's roster, her ability to work heel, face, tag, singles, any style, like, she's just one of the most versatile workers out there. She, to me, is a no-brainer for one of those two brands, like, either way. So, yeah, that's all I got. I don't know if Ryan has any thoughts on those or if he's awake.
You know,
He's awake. No, he's good.
My only thought on that stuff, Kate, is listen, the names out there are great, especially like the women's name, right? Dakota Kai, the big name. There's some other women hanging out there too. I think before you do anything, I think you have to try to get Maria Kanellis to sign on to Ring of Honor. And then you work with Maria Kanellis and say, of the talent that may be available, who would you like in your division?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, it can work both ways, right? Like, you can certainly sign the talent and then say, we've got this talent, like, and we want you to run it.
Oh,
or
yeah.
you say, hey, we're going to sign you, and then you pick the talent and we'll kind of go out, you know, almost like a GM spot, right?
I would just say, of anybody that's out there right now, the first person I'm putting in Ring of Honor is Dakota Kai because of the versatility there.
Sure.
Like, she's, and don't get me wrong, she could easily slide into the AEW women's division. But when I look at who's one of the most well-rounded women's wrestlers right now, she's the first name that comes to mind. And Willow's the one I want signed the most, don't get me wrong. But, like, if I'm anchoring down a brand new women's division with someone, it's hands down Dakota Kai.
That one just seems like a shocking release.
I mean, she also made it known that she wasn't going to re-sign there. That was part of the
Sure.
stuff with Bivens and as well. But you know, this new NXT reboot is terrible, and there's not really a place for her in it. And they brought her up to the main roster to do a bunch of dark matches and didn't fall in love with her for whatever reason. So, but she's phenomenal. Like, she's one of the most fundamentally sound wrestlers I've just seen ever. Like, she's great. So she'll land on her feet.
Yeah, that is for sure. Well, that is it for us tonight. So let's go around the room. Kate, when you're not here, what are you doing?
Oh my goodness. Well, this week is a week. Earlier today, I was on Pillar to Post, which is Fightful's Around the Horn style show. That was super fun. You could check that out on Fightful YouTube. You can also check out the AEW SmackDown and the AEW SmackDown, AEW Rampage and SmackDown post show.
Don't you dare.
Friday nights on Fightful YouTube. Saturday, I'm returning to Excite Wrestling for their commentary booth, and also Tuesdays, Sour Graps on Fightful YouTube, reviewing the hot mess of what we just talked about, the shambles of what's left of NXT, which used to have like 12 exciting minutes on it and now has like 3 because they fired the only 2 people there that I liked.
Still seems like too much. Too much good time is what I'm saying. 3 minutes seems too long. Schlong, what do you do when you're not here?
On Mondays and Tuesdays, you can find me live tweeting Dark and Elevation from Mark Order Pod. The rest of the week, I'm just hanging out. So if you want to interact with me there, I'm there. That's it. I don't do 8 shows like Kate.
Neither do I. I'm just here. So this is the only place you can get me. I mean, if you want to invite me to another podcast, I'll certainly do it. But I'm going to fucking fake my way through it because I don't have time.
God bless you.
I'm not going to fake my way through it. I would certainly prepare. Anyway.
That is what she said.
Except if I have to watch WWE television. I'm not doing that. Fuck that.
It feels like biology homework. It's awful.
No. Even though Millionaire Matt's not here, we miss him dearly when he's not. But we understand his... Well, all right. You know, I'm trying to live the fave. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But when he's not here, you can check him out on Monday nights, the B show of the network, the Shining Wizards podcast. They've been doing it for over 10 years. And as we said before, who knew you could do mediocrity for so long and still be that successful? But Monday nights, in all joking aside, Monday nights, 7:00, pretty fantastic show. Really great guests, good interviews, fun games, and other hijinks that they have on there. You can also support them in everything they do. Hit up their socials. You can get a link to their Patreon, the Discord server, all that kind of fun stuff. So if you're a Millionaire Matt fan, check out the Shining Wizards and support them any way you can. And for those of you who support us, we thank you. For everybody who chatted along tonight, we appreciate you. The Rob Humphreys, the Review Booth, Kyle K. Sparks, Mark Quill, Marky Mark Kayfabe, Asian Joe. I'm sure I'm missing a ton of people. I can't scroll back all the way through the chat. Eric F., you know, we appreciate all of you who watch us live. And to those of you who listen in podcast form, we also appreciate you. If you are listening in podcast form, make sure that wherever you're doing that, you're subscribing, rating, reviewing, anything you can to help us out. And if you've never watched us in video format, you should definitely check it out. Ryan changing his backgrounds every week, sometimes not even being on screen, just looking at his background. Sometimes Kate has bangs, sometimes she doesn't. Her hair's up in a bun. Sometimes Buster's showing his red rocket. You know, you never know. But all of our video content is up on YouTube. So check us out on our YouTube. And as I said before, if you would like some free stickers, just hit up our link tree on our socials at Mark Order Pod on social. Hit the link tree, hit the button for request your free stickers. Give us your name, your address, and the country you live in, and we will ship out some of these fantastic free Mark Order stickers so you can show your support. And we appreciate you. Stay tuned. We've got stuff on the horizon, additional ways you'll be able to help support us. And again, we appreciate everything you guys do for us. So thank you so, so much. And also, I don't know if you guys know, we've been getting new people who are subscribing to the YouTube. So anybody out there who's done that, we thank you so much for your support and for subscribing. And anybody out there who's spreading the word, we certainly thank you too. So with that being said, that's going to do it for us, guys. A lot of fun tonight. A lot of great discussion. Another banner week for the Mark Order podcast. We will be back next week. Maybe with Matt, maybe not. Who knows anymore? I can't even keep up.
Who's Matt?
I don't even know. We're a 3-man band. That's all I know. Schlong, you got anything else you want to say?
Oh, yeah. So Schlong, a good night.
Oh, and Schlong, we're going to put up a poll, so keep an eye out on Twitter. We're going to put up the poll for what Kate's going to work into her conversation at her Excite Wrestling commentary gig this weekend, and then you'll be able to see that on Twitch. Is that right, Kate?
It is on the Excite Wrestling Twitch stream, yep.
So keep an eye on the Twitter. We'll put the poll up with some of our options, and then Kate's going to work that into her commentary. So we'll talk about it all next week back here on the Mark Order podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great night. Goodbye.
And good night.
Bang.
This concludes the Mark Order podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.